Don't you just love it when you get yourself in with some of the most amazing cars out there? This is a Creator Series showcase event. We take the points away from the championship, we put it out of the way, and we bring the community in. And we say this is a race for everybody to try and do their best in. We'll put 3 hours on the clock. We will say, do your best, and whoever walks out on top takes the bragging rights from this third round of racing action. We find ourselves in the panhandle of America in Florida, and to a circuit that knows endurance all too well, the Sebring International Raceway. My name's Jake Sperry. I've got John Isamusing Harris along with me, and John, quite simply put, there is some amazing love that comes through each and every time we go to endurance racing, and we run with GT3, the most run car combo in all of sim racing.
Yeah, indeed, possibly the most popular as well, because it's able to take on a huge amount of driving aspects and different driving styles. And quite, I wouldn't say easy cars to drive, but you can be quite adaptable to them. So there's always something to suit your flavor in the vast amount of cars available. Also, a note for our creators today is some of them will be teaming up amongst themselves, and also others will be teaming up with community members. So that is added to the chaos among the 3 hours.
They certainly will do, and so you've got an understanding of, are you going to bring someone from the community who's maybe a little bit quicker, or are you going to partner up with someone that you know has paced through the opening couple rounds of the season and go, well, I trust you to get the job done, I will make it happen. There are also some team combinations out there, John, because you're allowed to run a maximum of 2 drivers and a minimum of 1 who have decided, I'm just going to go it alone and decide I am going to try making 3 hours of a stint, which is what I would call a long stint when it comes to endurance racing.
Yeah, definitely the higher end. I think the longest that I've heard of is about 4 or 4.5 hours. At that point, the driving becomes very tricky. So it'll be interesting to see actually whether the benefit of extra rhythm that you have from doing that long stint versus a fresh driver in the car, and how all of that will work out. But obviously for some of the creators, they want to be in their bubble, fully focused, fully concentrated. I can respect that. And for lots of them, it'll be a chance to prove what they're worth as well, in terms of the fact that there's no points available, which adds to the chaos every single time, because you got to be first and ahead at the apex in turn 1, as we all know.
You certainly do, and it is one of the more unique circuits in the world of motorsport, with that run along the back stretch then, which is on that straight heading to Sunset Bend, the corner of 1004 lines. And when you get to turn 1, it's one of the most unique places, because you go from concrete to asphalt. It's not often that you see concrete run as the main property surface for a track.
Yeah, indeed. And oh, hello, the rain. I can see the puddles on the track. This is practice, by the way. So drivers still getting warmed up. But, well, the tires won't be getting too warmed up. As you can see the spray off of one of the cars briefly in the distance. And there we go with 2 GT3s. I love that aspect of changeable conditions. And here we get a brief glimpse of our creator sort of community liveries on the car. So when you see this livery, apart from one team, if I remember correctly, of the team of Matt 212, all of the creators running this livery are community entries.
Yeah, so there is car number 8, which is the Pun Crew White, who are out there at the moment. Anthony Jenkins behind the wheel, and then Scott Haddock will be the second driver in at the team. Practice also becomes an interesting port of call, with just under 2 minutes to go before we flip over to 15 minutes of open qualifying. And the big thing's going to be, are you going to get both of your drivers prepared and happy with the way that they are running compared to everybody else out there? So what I mean by that here, John, is the question of, in that hour, who needs more time in the car?
Yeah, very interesting thought there. I mean, you've got the compromise of, do you start trying to set up for the race, or do you want to set up for a good qualifying position? There's quite a few overtaking opportunities around this track, quite a few long straights, and obviously the corners, last turn, Sunset Bend, and indeed turn 1, which I call the turn of 1,000 grass traps on the exit. is so good for overtaking or trying to get a move done that maybe qualifying not so important, but also threat of changeable weather conditions, as we are seeing a perfect demonstration of right now. It could throw a cat amongst the pigeons, as they say. So it'll be interesting to see. I think possibly you have to focus on getting the driver that's going to do the first stint up to speed, and then figure it out as you go on, because you need a good start to the race.
Yeah, you certainly do, and we will be keeping an eye out on that. Rain has officially stopped out there, so we're on a drying circuit at the moment, just at the end of practice. They had a little bout of rain come through, and just looking at the radar in Sim at the moment, there is more rain on the horizon, and in terms of category bands of rain, blue is the lightest, is class 1, then it goes to green class 2, yellow class 3, red is class 4. You've got Ron Burgundy is class 5 because he is classy as an interpreter out there, as a news reporter. And then you've got pink as class 6 rain. We have got class 4 red rain scheduled on the horizon. Whether it hits the circuit is another point entirely, but if that is a hefty bout of rain, there is going to be concerns. Practice then is put into the books as Barney waves about there from the waiver for the gantry there on the left-hand side, and we now jump ourselves over into qualifying, and best times only out there get themselves into play. Now the key here, 34 different teams here, John, are trying to get their position of glory. With endurance racing, it's one of the funny things. You don't have to start in first position to win this race. In fact, it's very rare that you see the car that qualifies it on pole winning the race outright. Endurance is all about consistency.
Yeah, it is, and starting the race on a good footing and avoiding the chaos perhaps in the opening laps can be very beneficial. But the good news is that you have those 3 hours so that you can indeed regain your position if you have a little bit of an incident, and a lot of it will come down to consistency and indeed putting pressure on other drivers. We've seen it, well, as we see a car going off in, I think, the middle sector there, so very unfortunate with drivers already missing their braking zones, but you'll have to get the tires up to temperature, and that will be equally as difficult. I think the winner of this race, or indeed those that do well, will be the ones that master the changing conditions, really. It's so difficult to maintain confidence, and you just need to try and keep that really high and make sure that you keep the car in a good condition. Obviously, of the obvious stuff that I'm saying, but you know, sometimes in the heat of the moment, drivers can forget that.
And drivers are on a lightly wet track at the moment and realise it's only going to dry out as it goes. So some will feel like they want to gamble and put dry tyres on. We're with Joshimas at the moment, Joshua Edwards, here in car number 7 at this point in time, and looking to work through this outlap here. This is on the far side of the circuit here, running through to the Tower Corner and onto the greatest straight name in all of motorsport right now, the Flying Fortress Straight. As you drive along this section and flick through this left of Bishop's Corner, you can see there a very, I would say, dangerous place to put a sim rig there, John. I would not put my sim rig right at the bottom of the stairs.
Well, if anybody trips up on the stairs, it can at least recreate you getting shunted from behind because someone missed their braking zone. So I appreciate the realism, although the car there is looking very difficult to drive there for Joshua. A lot of understeer, so that's going to require probably some adjustments to traction control and indeed to ABS, as you can see, just trying to get the turn in, and you're waiting eternally through this corner that never ends. Sunset corner, and by the time you get to it, it's definitely night conditions. But yeah, so difficult because you've got the walls on either side as well. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, and I think we'll see a strategy here. You've got 15 minutes to qualify, so some drivers will go flat out. They're going to make it sort of, yeah, they just about make the corner. I think they're taking it quite easy, actually, from the get-go here. So, as I was going to say, some drivers are going to take it flat out from the get-go. Other drivers are going to build themselves up to it.
They certainly are, and this is our first time to really talk about balance of performance here today, because they are not in a one-make class as we've seen from the opening 2 races of the season. They have got every single GT3 car available to them within iRacing. So you look around right now, our focus is on Joshimas.com by Prolapse Motorsport. They're running the Lamborghini and just about making it at the Hotel Hairpin, turn number 7. Eli then in front, Punju for the Pun crew, is running around in the McLaren 720S. So a big difference in terms of what these cars have. I've seen Porsches out there like Hyperstar Solo Cup, an Audi for Team Camimore, which will be the first one over the line. There are Ferraris out there. I've even spied a Mustang and a Corvette out there being piloted by Taylor Mills at the moment. She is for Taylor Mills Racing. So there are a whole bunch of different cars out there available, including Team Spike right now, which is being piloted by Darren Machabvunga at this point, who is running with a BMW. So you get a whole sense of what everyone's doing. Ryan Littlemore behind the wheel of the Camimore team at the moment. The IGL Coatings colours then on that, because he's got Kamikaze as his teammate, hence the name Camimore as a team. This is the Moore, and we'll see what Ryan Littlemore can do heading towards the line to start. The times flying in on the board.
I will come out and jinx them right away by saying this is possibly one of the favourite teams, in my opinion, in terms of pace and ability to win this. They've been on fire at the moment throughout the Creator Series on the various participations across the WRC, Formula 1, and indeed now on iRacing. So it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt. So obviously being in a team, normally they're rivals. So yeah, I think they will be hoping to just put pedal to the metal and get out in front. But I'm surprised by the car choices, I must say. I expected to see a lot more front-engine cars, say, for example, the Mercedes, because this track is unlike any other that I know on the calendar of any racing series. Because it's an airfield track, sort of, but very bumpy, and that's not a characteristic if you think about Silverstone or, well, basically any other track that's built on an old airfield. Normally it's very smooth and flat, whereas this is bouncing near enough every turn, so you want a front-engine car sometimes for the extra stability, but the teams want to take a gamble, and I appreciate that.
Racing for Killer Cleo moves up then into second position on a 2:12.5. Here for the safety rating only. Well, you're not going to get any out there, hence the joke is Max Kramer at the moment. Two sets a 2:16.1 backing off the lap. The car just directly behind is the number 12 Nadia El-Hop Racing number 12 machine, and that is the car piloted by the fan favourite Aidan Poll.
Indeed. Very quick person, got very unlucky, I must say, last time out, so he'll be hoping to just build on that and try and gain back just a little bit of, I wouldn't say confidence, they're obviously very confident, but they want a good result anyway. As always, in any type of special events, you want to go flat out and see what you can do, and sort of try and prove yourself to everybody else indeed. And this is the conditions that I think he'll enjoy, and he'll make the most out of it.
I think he will as well, as we go on board the Ullman Straight, and the charge here towards the Sunset Bend, almost attacking the inside there. Through the middle of the corner goes Punju, and now looking to charge for that line of 2:11.9 now from Ryan Livermore. This track is going to dry as it goes, and because of the nature of long lap, we're going to see these times consistently improve over and over and over. Right now we sit on a lightly wet track. The moment this track becomes very lightly wet, that would be where you find the crossover out there to go and make it work. In this showcase event, this is going to be a really big port of call when it comes to qualifying. When is the track good enough to switch to dries?
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing still a few puddles out there, so maybe not quite yet, but definitely, as you can see, the track has dried up quite a considerable amount. So we're definitely on the verge of, you have to think about coming into the pits right now, because by the time you get back out, get the tires warmed up, which is going to take you extra time, because they will be cooled down by the standing rain, you might have just one lap to do it, but if you stay out there on warm intermediates, then you might get a fast time anyway. So this is a real tricky one. But looking at the track now, actually, I take it back. I'm not seeing any puddles right now at all. So this might be a 50-50 scenario.
It certainly will do. We watch with Brendan Lichtenberg at this moment in the Hyperstar Solo Cup Porsche there. The cyan blue is in full display right now, and he is looking to go stratospheric with the NASA t-shirt on at the moment, trying to work through the corners here. 212 flat, the best, and taking a little bit more of a different line out there. Now, you will see that as the racing goes on, that the worst place to be on a wet track is on the racing line, because it's rubbered in, and when it's more rubbered in, the water stays on it and it's slicker.
Yeah, indeed, although how much that will have washed away by now already with the rain in practice, I'm not quite sure. It doesn't look really as if there's too much of a line. You can faintly see a line on the exit and entry of the corners, but it shouldn't be too bad. We've got a new fastest lap for Ryan Littlemore. Here we go. Ryan was feeling very confident in a few of the practice sessions that he did earlier on in the week, and so I really do think that he's geared up to do this. This is kind of his element, and so it's going to be really interesting to see if anyone can challenge. Although I'm seeing that the Hyperstar car is less than a tenth of a second, and here for the safety rating is ironically in P3 at the moment, only 4/10 of a second off the pace.
I think they're there trying to get the victory as well. There is Team Spite at the moment, and this is where you've got Sparks currently in behind the wheel and looking to try and really rush forward and put times down that say we can go and do well. It looks like there's a change for fourth as the Monskers team moves up into position number 4. Micah Dern behind the wheel then, jumping up the number 55 car then as iRacing for Killer Cleo now drops down to 5th position, and there is a difference between racing strong or racing not, and for the moment PSR from Timu at the moment, so they're going to say they're a budget team out there, number 31. They're in P9.
That name has me laughing, that's for sure. I love the just the creative aspect of names choosing for any team. That one is up there, that's for sure. Also, with something to consider, I'm just thinking about right now, traffic as well. If you're on fast laps and other people are just trying to warm up their tires, you might get caught behind cars. And although this track has straight, huge twitch from, I think it was a McLaren in the background there, yellow McLaren. I think that was Pole Spin Racing, perhaps, as they just managed to save it there. But you can see that the conditions are still treacherous. I love that Castrol livery, by the way. So retro, so lovely to see. Although, that being on I think it's a Ferrari there. I'm not quite sure the crossover is 100%, but you got to give them for their creativity. Points to that.
Yeah, there is always going to be a case of everybody wants to run, and that, of course, being a livery that would have been from the JGTC days of the early to mid 2000s, the late 90s then, of endurance running, a golden era, some would say, as we focus then with Mike Vince then for Vince Fan Racing, really trying to work through the middle section. We've got to be so careful through Collier Corner and then through this run towards the right-hand bend then of Tower, and you are hoping that through that small run when it's wet, you're going to hold yourself in station. If it's dry, you don't think about it. When it's wet, you are so scared to put that right foot down to the floor.
Yeah, for sure. And on the last bit of the lap here, you've also got to worry about your tyres overheating as well. You've done a lot of turns, and if you get the power down too much, these GT3 cars can be quite heavy on the tyres sometimes if you overdo it. And so when you exit Le Mans curve onto the straight here, you've got to really just think about whether you've got anything in reserve from the tyres, because as you turn in here, it's either going to stick or not into Sunset Bend. And looking at the Ferrari, that's very stable, very secure, getting it nicely to the apex. A wide line is possible through here, but taking the racing line in qualifying, it looks like it's working out. No hint of understeer or oversteer through there. Beautiful, but will it be enough to get a good time? I didn't see an improvement for... Oh, yeah, there it goes on the board. P9, it did. It's just lagging behind a little bit. So P9, not too bad, and in the running in terms of pace, that's for sure.
We got 4 cars or 4 teams that have yet to set a time And believe it or not, Fabio, so Infratic's not set a time, Chesnoid's not set a time. You've also got Killer Cleo, who's not set a time, and Alex Gillen has set a time, but he set a 2:28. So by virtue of that, outside of 107% you would feel at this moment if this were Formula-style racing. So he's got to get a stronger run going. There is the 23 making a run. That's a 2:20.0. That's good enough to jump only Alex Gillen.
I think we could rename Alex Gillen's team to Lola MasterCard at this point in terms of pace. Not brilliant, I will say. But I'm sure Alex just probably had a spin or just backed out of that one because I know he's got the pace and I know he's always gunning for pole position. So we'll have to wait and see whether he can get a lap on the board. 1 minute to go, though, so you need to be absolutely 100% now in terms of your confidence. So yeah, it's going to be so difficult. See if Pun Crew can improve P6 at the moment. Do they go any faster? I don't think it was an improvement, sadly, but they will have another lap. So from my understanding, and I think it's still the same, is that if they cross the finish line before the checker flag falls, they can complete the lap that they're currently on, as we've got a Mustang off at turn 1. Not brilliant, and that will be their qualifying over.
Yeah, so keep an eye on that then. So we've got 30 seconds left as far as qualifying goes, and it will be about the last team over the line to go and give themselves the opportunity to charge. For the moment, the Camimore team are down in the pits, so they will not improve on any lap times that they have. Taylor Mills Racing. Taylor Mills, she puts the car up to 14th position, down to just 3 seconds remaining, and it will be Vince Pham Racing who will be the first team who can't get it over the line. Checker flag, then waves, and now we start looking at lap times. Doesn't work for Vince Pham Racing. They can't find the improvements. There's Pole Spin Racing, the number 44 team, who are working their way around. Hayden Gullis moves up then inside the top 20, and so too does Sparks move up then to 14th position with a time. Team Zoopner looking to make some progress then, charging along down the straight over towards the right then of the hotel hairpin. This is about giving yourself as much opportunity to say, I can attack and I can find so much time out there at this point. They're in 10th position and hoping they can make it work. There is the Skur Squad racing car, and there is Killer Cleo making progress over towards the line. Is this going to be enough to move off for 220? Alex Gillen's gone to a 218, a 223 from Cleo. Not good enough to go and get the improvements needed. So this is looking like a very tough end to qualifying. IGL Coatings and Sander Traffic Skull team. Alexander Tufton Scarrett over to the line, and a 2:12.4. That's good enough for the second row of the grid there. That's 4th position alongside here for the safety rating. You got the Paddock Racing team, and then of course you got Punju there for the Pun Crew trying to make something happen, but it doesn't look like a quick lap from them. The Paddock Racing team will cross the line on a 13.8, improves time but not position, and so now it's down to just the final few cars to go and say, can we get an improvement needed? Brendan Lichtenberg then for Hyperstar Solo Cup, looking to find just 1/100th of a second to get to pole position, and crosses on a 13.4, nowhere near enough to get that one over the line with pace, as the likes of PSR from Timu moves on to a 2:13.1 and jumps into the top 10. Aidan Pole crosses the line late on a 13.1, doesn't improve. The 2 Bandit 2 Collective go 26th only. That was Keenan Kusen there. So Aerotech not finding much, and that will be that as far as qualifying is concerned, because Alex Gillen has already improved on his qualifying lap to a 2:18. John, it is as simple as this. Camimore dominated qualifying. It's not a big gap, but it's a gap, and they have the pole position.
Yeah, what a disappointment there in the last seconds of the session for Team Zoopner there, because they were up 2 seconds last time I checked the timing, and then all of a sudden something happens, probably a snap of oversteer, and that was it. So yeah, very close for the front two there. They've got a bit of a gap, 0.3 of a second, as you can see, in terms of not only the safety rating apparently, but in terms of pace as well to car 999. But definitely, if you look at the pace, everybody's so close. Rarely seeing a gap of more than 2 tenths of a second. So Ryan on pole there for Team Cami Moore, with Brendan Hyperstar lining up alongside with Max Kramer in P3. Alexander Toftum Skaritz in P4, but look at the gap there, already 4/10 of a second. Mika Dorn P5, Marcus Hagman P6. Punju finishes P7 there, which is a good result for him, a good confidence, with Aidan Pole behind, actually. So a surprise result right there. Carl McGuinness P9, and rounding out the top 10, William Rasmussen.
Yep, so that's your top 10 all lined up and put together. And now they will have about 5 minutes to fine-tune and fettle to make sure they're happy for the racing. Now, they will be keeping an eye out on the weather system that is starting to come in from the southeast. So they are going to be in a position to try and make that work. But I would look around and think, right, in this stage, they're going to be looking at the rain. Rain is probably going to hit early, so you might be in a position here where you're looking at how are you going to do strategy out here, because you've got to think about fuel. They normally run to the hour, so you'd expect it to be a 2-stop race. If that rain hits in the first half hour, it's a 3-stop.
Yeah. And that blows strategy completely out the window, because you have to start calculating for fuel. But it also means that sometimes the strategy of going long on a set of tires might not apply today. So you've got a lot of thinking to do, especially at the start of the race. Do I conserve the tires? Do I wait and see if that rain is actually coming a little bit later than anticipated? So there's a lot to think about. And especially when the rain hits, just keeping yourself out of the walls and out of trouble might just be enough to win you the race or get a good position. So, yeah, very, very important. For everybody that's qualified in the top 10, it'll be extra pressure to maintain those positions, at least through the first opening lap. So we're set for a treat here, as they say.
Yeah, we are going to be in for a real showcase, and this is going to be all about who can master the changing conditions, right time to come in, wrong time to come in, how confident drivers feel underneath them as they look to put it forward. But pace is going to be important, and GT racing, especially endurance racing, has almost become sprintified in the way that it's gone about over the last 10 to 15 years, John, just because of the way that everyone's been able to approach it and the strategies that go about. So now you look at racing like this, and drivers who have the opportunity each and every single week to go out there and do some form of racing, to go, well, can I master these conditions, this car, this track? How am I going to feel pushing at 100% for 3 hours straight?
Yeah, in the past few years, you've had a phenomenon in real life of the gap between what you might call gentleman drivers or amateur drivers closing into the pro drivers, where normally there would be a gap of 2 or 3 seconds per lap. Now it's closed into about 1.5 seconds. So that changes how people go about racing, but also the use of, well, for example simulators like iRacing that can allow you to practice, as you say, the conditions and gain more confidence. And at the end of the day, GT3 racing is a lot about confidence, because the cars are quite heavy. They do have aerodynamics, but you still have to master the momentum change and other things.
Let's take a look at the starting grid then for racing action here from the Sebring International Raceway. It will be Kamikaze taking the car then on pole position for Team Cami Moore, with the Hyperstar Solo Cup entry alongside Brendan Hyperstar will be there along on that front row. If you're here for the safety rating, it's Maurice Hooter who's behind the wheel of the 999 in third, and then the IGL Coatings and Sunder Traffic Skull team in fourth. They've got Kjetil Larsen who's there in fourth position for them, a very quick driver when it comes to radical racing on the iRacing channels. You've then got Matthew Cooks, who is in the Monsters car number 55, representing Killer Cleo's community, with Skr Racing for Killer Cleo in 6th position out there overall. So keep an eye on that. The paints aren't necessarily going to be what you see out there on circuit. You then got the Pun Crew, who are 7th, and then Nadia El Hop Racing, which I believe is an acronym for Aidan Pole, which is there in 8th position. Behind Aidan Pole is the Pole Spin Racing car of Carl McGuinness. Will go from 9th position, with PSR from Timu rounding out your top 10. That is William Rasmussen, who is behind the wheel. Supreme is going to to go in the Team Zupner Porsche. They're running some wonderful Canadian clad there, some Canadian plaid, I should say, in 11th, with that guy Vince going from 12th position for Vince Pham Racing. Ruse Racing and Zachary Smith is 13th, with Joni Heiskanen in 14th position, taking on Sparks' car there of Team Spite. You've then got Taylor Mills Racing, and Taylor Mills herself is going to be in behind the wheel, along with Black Blade Racing Performance. Jeremy Schwarzer is there in 16th, as B-Dunk Motorsports will go from 17th there with Bradley Duncan. And then in 18th position, the Paddock Racing team have B-Roy Jenkins himself in 18th place. Your top 20 will be rounded out by Hayden Gullis in 19th, and then Matt 212 for the 212 Esports Orange team, making that top 20 work. Pole Sim Racing Blue will go from 21st with Fabian Ming, and Nomad, sometimes known as Prestanda Nomad with their sponsors, but just running as Nomad here today with Chris Chatterton in 22nd position. Andrew's super fast racing team was super slow in qualifying, so for Ancephalosis, 23rd only would be what is managed. Joshimas in the joshimas.com by Prolapse Motorsports Lamborghini will be alongside in 24th, with Anthony Jenkins for the Punk Crew White in 25th, and the 2 Bandit 2 Collective team 26th, with Aerotech there in position. The taco shop is open for racing, but down in 27th, so make sure you stop by, with El Taco Man Riff Blondie going with Rifty's Legends in 28th. And a big shout out to the Bagel Gang, as Super Noodle Bagel will go from 29th position, and quote, the safety car is being written out because Team Nick Packin Design will be there in 30th. Nick, of course, took the unsafety car in the earliest race of the season. Alex Gillen then for Gillen's team. The 77 car is down in 31st, with the last car to set a time being the Skirt Squad racing car of Killer Cleo. The 2 who didn't set a time would be Infratic and Chesnoy Gaming, one in the Mustang and the other in the McLaren. So there is still work to do, as they will have a short pace lap to get themselves to running, and they are already going through the final corner then of Sunset Bend to get themselves up to speed. They know how critical it is to get themselves on a very good run track. It's very lightly wet, so I expect most drivers to be on slicks. Early jump from Ryan Littlemore here, so Ryan L83 sets us underway. 3 hours start for the Creator Series.
Oh, what a getaway there from Ryan. He's going to be uncontested into turn 1 as Lamborghini follows him through. So yeah, a lot of drivers just trying to keep it clean, consistent. McLaren getting sandwiched there in the midfield. And yeah, everybody's keeping it clean though. So I'm surprised to see not so many people going for send-it moves. I think they just realised that they've got to keep themselves out of trouble. 2 Mercedes getting into contact there as the Porsches go to Civil War also. So a lot of drivers getting into contact. Car 12 and car 55 there, just trading paint a little bit down the straight now. So they'll get into a hairpin turn in a second, which will be their first big braking zone, and hopefully nobody will get it wrong. The Mercedes going in very deep on the inside there. I think that might be Monsters just getting the position as well, as Postman Racing had a brief, I think, timing issue there. But yeah, a gap formed in the midfield with BMW holding up drivers, and yeah, timing just having all sorts of issues there, but it's fine. We'll figure it out at the end of lap 1.
We certainly will. Oh, and everybody's now trying to work through a lot of places. Lost then early there for the number 61 team out there, so they've been dropping back down the order, and that's huge dramas there through the middle, just coming out of Cunningham Corner. There is a huge amount of damage then for Black Blade Racing Performance, who have been caught up in it. Looks like B-Dunk Motorsports have also been wrong place, wrong top. Got problems pretty much everywhere as they run through onto the Flying Fortress straight for the first time, and ultimately this is what you don't want. Damage on lap 1, because you've got to remember, even though this is a 3-hour race here right now, John, they've still got the same 4 fast repairs they've had. It's an hour's race and round to go, going through Le Mans corner. Team Zupner, so there, that's going to be dramas, and it's going to be joined even there by Taylor Mills.
Yeah, incredible. You see one car spin out the Porsche, and then Taylor Mills follows suit as well. It's just so difficult, I think, getting on the curb on the exit there, trying to get the maximum traction out of Le Mans curve, and sadly it is still very, very damp, and maybe even on the grass, and As you can see, the rain's still falling a little bit here as well. So just got to be very careful in these conditions because you're kind of on a crossover point. You can see no standing puddles. So you want to, and you're incentivized to push in these conditions, but it can just catch you out in the blink of an eye. And all you have to do, for example, right there, is put a wheel on the gravel, and it can be the end of your day. And as you say, at the start of a 3-hour race, that is not what you want to be doing.
No, it certainly isn't, as that guy Vince tries to work, trying to get by Chris Chatterton at the moment for the Nomad team, and just behind that is Pole Sim Racing Blue and Fabian Ming trying to look for an angle here. So now trying to work hard through the big bend that leads over to the hotel hairpin. They will duel on the brakes into the right-hander, and it will be all about drive coming off the exit, and that guy Vince gets a pretty good launch, gets pinched though through the mid-phase of acceleration. That opens up the side-by-side between them, and Chris Chatterton, there's contact then as they fight through the Fangio S's all the way up to Cunningham Corner here, and it's just about held steady by Chris Chatterton. So well held by the Nomad team to keep themselves in play. For reference, it's Cammy Moore who leads here for the safety rating in second, and the Hyperstar Solo Cup team now a distant third at the front.
It's always the same way with the safety rating, isn't it? When there's a race that doesn't count toward the safety rating, you do fine in it, and then as soon as it does, you don't. As yeah, look at the gaps there already with the Ryan Littlemore currently in the car. He's putting out quite a bit of a gap there, so interesting to see the strategies here. I think they've calculated that it might go dry briefly, and they could maybe just burn these tires up and use the extra performances. We can see already a trend forming, and that the McLarens are quite fast here, but they're very skittish on the apex of the corners. And we've seen multiple sort of twitches from car 13 at the moment.
Well, what will also be interesting is that rain is due in about 15 minutes' time. So we are seeing, as they go through sections of very lightly wet track, that they'll be eyeing up how they go about the way that they are driving as the fast lap comes in from Max Kramer. Then here for the safety rating in second position, the group that gives chase, and the big important ones are the third, fourth and fifth place one as we go with Pole Spin Racing straight down the inside of Brendan Lichtenberg. And almost being uber aggressive there, as that was going to be Carl McGuinness straight into the side of Brendan Lichtenberg. So Brendan Hyperstar finds himself then looking backwards, and Rocket Man is going the wrong way out there after a hit like that. You've got to be so alert to it, and immediately is pulling over to the right-hand side, I fear, with suspension damage.
Yeah, it looks like the car just didn't want to turn on the exit of the corner. He had to back off immediately, which is quite bad because all of these next turns are right-handers, and so we might be in a situation where they'll just have to limp around and they'll be losing time. They're already down to P13, probably dropping some more time as well. As you can see, just not appearing. There they are in the background, about to get overtaken, I think. But no, it looks like they've held position at least. So maybe just a lack of confidence. I don't know. Maybe just checking, because it appears like the car is turning okay. So maybe just trying to take it cautiously, giving up the positions, thinking, you know, if I've got damage, may as well just get it back to the pits, and then realizing, oh no, everything's okay, so I can start. Oh no, on the right-handers is struggling a little bit with turning, isn't it? So we might see a trip into the pit lane here, actually. Take it back.
We might do, as it looked very, very aggressive there behind from Kjetil Larsen to try and work a way through. We focus over to the Pun crew, who are eyeing up the Paddock Racing team. What a start by the 54 team, by the way, with Brian Martin in behind the wheel. They have gained 12 spots off the start. Well, make that 13 spots off the start of this race, and they are now up into 5th position, having started 18th. A look behind as through is going to go. Sparks to go and make the pass on Chris Chatterton in the Nomad team. So moves are definitely being found out there. But the question is, who's sacrificing ultimate pace right now by deciding to start the race on a wet tyre?
Yeah, it appears like Killer Cleo's team is starting to bring the gap back already by a couple of tenths of a second in the last sector to the front two. So are we seeing a different tyre choice there? We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, they know what tyres they've got on the car, but we're going to have to guess for the moment. But yeah, we might see a little bit of a difference as still Ryan Littlemore has that comfortable sort of gap of 1.3 seconds at the moment. That seems to ebb and flow a little bit. Car 70 thinking about it, but still nothing in there for Rouge Racing trying to overtake Punju. But, you know, it's so tempting to just try and steam a move up the inside. And, yeah, in these conditions, especially maybe with overheating tyres, that might not be the best move.
There's a black flag penalty in for Taylor Mills at Taylor Mills Racing. She's serving it now, going down the lane with heavy damage to her Corvette. So a massively dramatic start. And they can see on the left-hand side the differences of tyres. Most drivers have started with the dries. The Monskers team and Brendan Hyperstar have actually gone onto a wet tyre. So that might be why we're seeing the time drop. Not damage, but just because that wet tyre is on a drying track and the dry tyres work at the moment. This is the gamble of, is this going to work? Because the rain, we know, is due to fall any time within the next 10 minutes. So if you can take your medicine for the next 4 to 5 laps, you're trying to save a pit stop.
Problem is that in the next 4 to 5 laps, the chances of those wet tyres turning into slick intermediates is a very high one. You're going to be eating away at the grooved tyres that help clear the water because they're overheating. So chunks of rubber will essentially be falling off those tyres, creating marbles, and it just gets worse and worse as you overheat the car until you get down to basically the canvas and a little bit of rubber that's on the last bit of tread depth of the tyre, and at that point it's a slick. So we've seen it multiple times in many racing scenarios, especially in endurance racing, where they've tried to stay out and then found out they've got no grip. As racing, a lot of overtakes happening as a team with Sparks is trying to get the move done.
Yep, so that was Zachary Smith of Rouge Racing, the Porsche 70, losing out to McLaren 561 of Chris Chatterton. And there is Sparks. We go on board as Reagan Carty sets the fastest lap of the race, looking each and every way to try and find a move at the hotel hairpin. Big lunge down on the inside, given the room, but will there be drive coming off of the exit? Yes, there is, for both as they now run through Fangio. They're going to have a duel once again over towards Cunningham Corner here. This 90-degree right-hander, which is pretty much the be-all, end-all for the lap, and just gets the move done. And behind, look how close that was between that guy Vince and Fabian Ming there in the Pole Sim Racing blue car.
Yeah, that was an impressive one, just judging the distance between the cars to perfection. Also, Nomad's got the power down at the moment, only 0.2 of a second behind the Pun Crew. So they've managed to gap these 4 cars that we can see on screen right now. However, Nomad Racing, Team Spite will be trying to close the gap as they've got clear of Rouge Racing with that good overtake. And it looks like that BMW very, very stable at the moment. So you'll see definitely cars pace ebbing and flowing throughout the race depending on tyres, depending on track conditions. It's a complete mystery to all of us which car you want to be in at the moment to give you that little tiny bit of an advantage. But yeah, at the front here for the safety racing is still closing the gap to leader. I think they set near enough identical lap times on the previous lap. But Killer Cleo's team still closing the gap, 3.6 seconds now. Look at that, top 3 in the same picture right there. And you can see visibly that gap is coming down, to be fair.
It's racing for Killer Cleo, running a 2:02.3. That was a full 1.1 seconds clear, quicker than the Cami Moore team. Now, the rain that's coming is about 7 to 8 minutes away. That is going to be rain we are expecting for half an hour. It will then dry up again, and there'll be another band of a half an hour's worth of rain at about 5:30 in sim time. So that would be another hour after the rain stops. So you've really got to understand there are 2 batches of rain that are on the horizon. Outside of that, there's going to be nothing more. So basically the final hour and a half is going to be in the dry, and if that's anything to go by, I'd keep my eye out on that 22 team. They look lightning fast.
Yeah, one team that's seemingly moving up the order a little bit, as I think maybe some people pitting because of damage. Monsters in P12 at the moment. They're still out on those wet weather tyres as far as I can see. and they don't appear to be suffering as much as we might think. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do, as we've just had a shuffle around off the timing boards, just as I said that, so we may actually have some cars in the pit. But yeah, very interesting to see that actually the track not drying as quickly as we thought, to be honest. But I'm not seeing any visible spray anymore, which is a slight concern if you're out on the wet weather tires still.
Yeah, I would say there's a little bit of concern that's in the books for those who are starting to drop that time. We're seeing the likes of the 201s being put in. There is Monska's 26th position as it currently stands, and this is always going to be a case of how do I work my way back through the field rather than sit down in a position and go, where can you find a little bit more out there? This is a tough scenario to start their race, and they'll be keeping their eyes open as to where every opportunity sits and presents for moves to be done. We look on the front stretch then, and this 4-car group that's just running through the opening corners: Rouge Racing, Pole, Sim Racing Blue, the Vince Fan Racing, and the IGL Coatings and Sunder Traffic Scholar 4060 out there, who are trying to push themselves into position to try and go for it. So that is going to be where you start understanding that there are a lot to go. And the leaders, by the way, they've got lap traffic here. They've got to get by Aiden Pole and Jeremy Schwarzer at Blackbird Racing Performance. This has really closed it up. Even in 15 minutes, we've got ourselves a very interesting scenario. There's only one Audi in the field. It's leading, and it's up against the Lamborghini. Here's the interesting thing. That Lamborghini's got an Audi engine in it.
Civil war of the manufacturers, as they say. If there's one person that you want in that Audi, though, for the Ryan Moore team, Cameron Moore team, it's a Ryan Littlemore, because he's so experienced. He will be able to soak up the pressure, and you can see the flashing lights from Lamborghini saying, get a move on, or indeed, I'm putting you under pressure, probably a bit of both. But you can see Ryan taking a defensive line a little bit there. Hang on a minute, I say that, and he's gone wide, and that allows the Lamborghini up the inside safety rating, might be taking the lead of the race. He's going to get boxed in, surely, by that Porsche that has damage on the inside right-hander. So yeah, and Ryan goes round the outside. Can he get anything done? Carrying a lot of speed. Lamborghini will have the better racing line, I think, but still, the back marker might come into play. No, the Lamborghini takes it to perfection. So, here for the safety rating is also here for the race lead.
Yeah, a wonderful move from the 999 team there. Max Kramer making the pass on Ryan Littlemore, who was just stationary. Nothing could be done about it. Right behind the lap traffic to get through. And remember, it's advisory, not mandatory. Big lunge down the inside. Jeremy Schwarzer moves out of the way of one, has to yield through turn 3 there again. And that was always going to be tough, but critically, they're both through, and now they'll look to continue on in the way that they go about their race. So a new race leader out there in this one, and a lot of different drivers and teams looking around at their position, going, where can I just find a little bit of space out there? Everybody is cloud watching at the moment, but the bigger thing to do is, well, you can't do anything about the weather. You've just got to drive what's in front of you. And at the moment, it's a case of you might want track position going into the pits, especially if you're going to be dealing with changing conditions. And that big difference being dry tyres, wet track, trying to slow down for the pit.
Oh,
Kramer having to get around Chesnoid and got pushed to the uber extreme. Now runs out of line, trying to get around Killer Cleo, and suddenly Ryan L83's back in play.
Yeah, also, yeah, Killer Cleo there in the Mustang in the background, as you can see. So there's your top 3, literally in one picture. And yeah, the back markers, I think, or I won't say back markers, just cars that may have had to pit for damage, let's say. They're having to get offline, and the problem is that you can see there's still a hint of dampness off the racing line. And that means that, for example, for Ryan, who went wide, there's just no grip off the racing line. So I think cars are just not anticipating enough that you have to leave a bit of space, or you have to leave them a little bit of wiggle room when trying to overtake them. As I think just a lot of drivers interested in keeping it clean until the rain arrives, because no matter what pace you gain in the dry, you can gain tenfold in the wet weather if you're confident and you have a good car under you. I think also the Audi may be suffering from a little bit of understeer here, as I'm seeing the Lamborghini can be very aggressive on turning, and the Audi's trying to find the apexes, and as you can see, just drifting wide onto the the dirt there. So yeah, just different configurations of cars, again, having different effects at this stage of the race.
They are, and I'm starting to see a little bit of rain at some of these corners, and that's going to be scary for everybody involved. So as you go into play, I think we're just about ready to start seeing the first of the rain. It has lightened up as it's gone across the Atlantic and the Caribbean. It is very much going to be Class 2 rain that is about to hit, green band rain that is going to be hitting the circuit, and the first part of the circuit that's going to get wet, and this is important to note, is going to be the corners around Le Mans and Gendebien. That will be the first part of the circuit that gets wet and wild, I would say, out there. The last place that's going to have it, Sunset Bend, and of course the Hotel Hairpin.
Yeah, not ideal, to be honest, to have that in the last sector, really, because it's one of the highest speed points on the track, and one where you have to really commit to the turns after a long, well, I don't want to call it a straight because you've got Bishop Bend before there, but, you know, you've really got to be committed, and so if you find yourself skedaddling onto the grass, well, there's very little wiggle room to recover after that. So, as you can see, the lighting has dropped as well, and we're seeing headlights flicker on for most of the drivers. In fact, probably some people will be looking to find that headlight switch somewhere on their mapping on their wheels, as yeah, we've got cars just trying to carve through the pack at the moment, as we see people in the pits. Car 55, sorry. Will this be for damage, or will this be just to change tires? I think it will maybe be a tire change, as that rain is coming down quite heavily, to be honest, by the looks of it.
Yeah, so it is going to start bringing that rain, and we said it's Class 2, so Cammy Moore in, racing for Killer Cleo, has jumped in here for the safety rating, has stayed out an extra lap. Is that the right choice and decision compared to jumping onto a set of wet tyres nigh on immediately out there on circuit? We've now got a difference of how long you take, so now you start to look around. It's here for the safety rating that lead, but in second, it's the 44 Pole Spin Racing car that has stayed out. And then I'm looking all the way back to where is third. That's the Pun Crew. Then Team Spike is going to be in fourth position. Then it's Nomad, Vince Farm Racing, Rouge Racing, and I'm looking back further and further to where the likes of Campbell is going to come out. And the answer is in a heap of traffic. They've got to get Team Zubner done, the Pun Crew one. The track and design. They've got those three that they've got to get up to speed and by. This is a really important phase of the race. Punju now side by side and really having to scrap there around that was encephalosis they had to get by. So wonderful bits of work having to go through, and there is the Cammy Moore car, which is out there and is just having to try and get up to speed. And because those tyres have just only been in the blankets, look at it, the track's not wet enough and the time is being lost.
Now you can see there's no spray coming off of the tyres, and the advantage now that the Lamborghini has is that the tyres are still up to temperature, right? You're on dry tyres, and there you can just see right there spray starting on the cars. Now's the point to choose, maybe to come into the pits, as you don't want a huge spray coming off your car, but your tyres will now be cooling down. You have perhaps half a lap until they go completely cold, and then you have no grip as they carry on for another lap. I think that's the correct call, but it's a bit of a gamble if the rain starts falling incredibly quickly now. And you can see in that last sector, that's changeover conditions. I think this is just confidence coming into it. Ryan, having been overtaken, is just decided to go a bit safe, and it hasn't really worked out. But will the Lamborghini overplay the cards now? Will the safety rating come into effect, as they say?
Pole Spin Racing in, the Pun Crew in, Nomad and Vince Fam Racing, Rouge Racing into the pit. Now remember that the Monsters team of Matthew Koo stayed out and started the race on wet tyres, so won't come into pit. You've got Alex Gillen, who's just gone through, who has stayed out a little bit longer. The track is not yet declared as lightly wet. That's the biggest indicator you're going to have that this track is going to get a whole heap worse. So there is a lot to ride on making these decisions, but here for the safety rating now sit with a 21-second gap last time they came into the pits. So there is a big amount of difference that's there. The Bagel Gang are in the pits. Hayden Gullis has made the call. then to make the stop as well. And we are really now starting to sense who is going to find an opportunity here that makes this work. I think the later that you lead, it's going to be one where you sit down and say, right, Max Kramer is going to be looking around at Josh Edwards and saying, right, I'm through that, but at what point is the right time? And will I have left it too late in comparison to the likes of the Camimore team, who are down in 15th position at the moment?
Oh, a huge slide off of Le Mans curve there for our leader. I think this might be changeover point. The advantage that they have is that the rain is predominantly in Sector 3, so just before they enter the pits, they will have the decision made for them, really. If they can negotiate the last 2 turns fine, then we're good. I think we might see them coming in. Yep, there we go, into the pits. I think everybody will be following them in, as it looks like, at least while you were commentating that lap, we had spray around the entire 3 sectors of the track.
Yeah, so now it's going to be a case of who makes the right decision to jump in. We've got teams pretty much everywhere now thinking about it's time for wet tyres. Here for the safety rating have now hit the lane. Team Spite will also join down into the pits. Will Gillen's team soon follow? And the question is, have the Monskers team found themselves well? We do note that for Brendan Hyperstar that there are troubles with the wheel and the shifter at the moment, which is causing troubles. I put this as teams looking around. Now, Monskers 55 are a lap down now, so they'll get back onto the leading lap. Question's going to be now, who is going to be leading this race? And I would put this as a very interesting scenario out there through each and every corner. There's the pun through white. I think Ryan Littlemore here and the Camimore team are going to get back into position here. But there goes Fabio, so Infratic hits the pit. But on the exit here, I would say that Max Kramer has absolutely got miles on the Camimore team, if not 15 seconds.
Really hasn't worked out there. They're not even in shot. They're not in visual distance for the car, second place car on track Camimore. So that has not played into good effect. Also, you will have the fact that you would have overheated the wet weather tyres, and so they won't give you as much grip. I was about to say, if anybody's having wheel issues, now is not the time to have them. 1, because it's tricky conditions, and 2, you don't really want to driver swap in these conditions, because the driver that's currently in the car will have a feel for the changing conditions, and so they will get back out on track and they'll have a little bit more confidence than if you're hopping into the car. I think Ryan's cooked his tyres for the moment here. It's looking like that Audi is not turning in whatsoever, and they're under pressure as well from the Killer Clio team there, and that Mustang that's right behind them as well, lights ablaze, and that will not be adding confidence, as they're going wide in every single apex. But as you said before, I'm just remembering what you said, this is where the track is rubbered in now, and they need to stay off that racing line, as it will get very slippy as that spray increases.
There's only one car in between them, and we're focusing on them right now. It's the number 15 machine of Team Zoopner then. So for a case here at the moment that Team Zoopner are doing the right thing and trying to stay out, but the longer they stay out, look at that rain start to bucket down. And it's a difference when it's bucketing down on asphalt. On concrete, it's got nowhere to go. It is the puddliest thing in the world when you put it onto concrete, wide in the background. That is Scud Squad Racing, so that looks like Killer Clio, who's at the back, 2 laps down, having a slide. But for the moment, it's a case that Team Zoopner here might be needing to hit pit lane. I think this is the indication. Hard over to the right-hand side off the exit. No speed coming off the corner. Must hit the lane at 72 kilometers an hour.
I say very brave, but also a good job keeping it on the track. It's not easy in those scenarios. I'm watching the gaps here come down, and yeah, it looks just like Camimore's got the same pace really for the moment, so the tyres haven't been cooked too much. Still 13 seconds off of the lead. However, Killer Clio's team has a lot more pace at the moment. They'll try and find a way past, and they need to really, as it looks like here for the safety rating has the same pace that they had in the wet as they did in the dry. So they're looking to just increase the gap at the moment. One of the people that lost out at the moment is the Pung crew, who've dropped all the way down to P8 at the moment, as they, I think, mistimed the changing weather and couldn't pit at the optimal time for various reasons, as I think we're just going for a little bit of a technical configuration in the background.
Yeah, we got wonderful racing that's been going on. And let's just sum up for those who are here for the first time. The first half an hour of racing that we've had has been all about waiting for the rain to hit. And then the rain has arrived and my hair is all over my face and I don't even know which side it is because I'm looking through a mirrored version. But right now, it's all about here, Isa, the case of drivers have to give themselves pace to be at the front. If they're at the front, they're given a chance, they're quick. But when the rain comes down, it's about when is the right time to come in. And different drivers will have different understandings of the level of grip underneath them, that they still feel confident on the tyres they have. Dry tyres are great, so long as they've got heat in them.
Yeah, indeed. And it's the same for wet weather tires. If you've overheated them, it's very difficult to get them back down to the operating temperature. So if you've come in, especially maybe two laps too early, one lap is not too detrimental. You only just overheat the surface. But if you get that core temperature overheating on the tire, then it can take maybe 5 or 10 laps just to get it down, and then you just start sliding and overheating again. So actually what teams that have pitted early will want now is more rain and more intensity to bring those temperatures even lower so that they can get back to the operating temperature. But it's going to be so tricky because you've got to just keep that confidence high, and in changing conditions, especially on the concrete, that's easier said than done.
Just want to note here behind the scenes that the Pun crew have hit the barriers over at, I believe it's Bishop's Corner. We're not going to be able to get you pictures of what's happened there, but they've gone into the barriers side on, and that's dropped them a couple of positions then to the likes of Gillen's team and the IGL Coatings and Sound of Traffic Skull team, which is currently being driven by Kjetil Larsen. So for Punju, that's going to be a case of looking down and saying, not what I wanted, and they've just now jumped back into the pits to repair the damage and get a fast repair sorted. So not how they want to go about things. And rain will catch anybody out. You think you got your braking markers set, and suddenly you've got to change them.
It's kind of a weird one around Bishop Bend. I mean, you're coming off of a straight turn, so I can only guess maybe a little bit of contact with someone else, because otherwise it's a pretty, I wouldn't say flat out turn in the wet, but
Sorry, tower
just
corner.
Tower turn. Now that makes a difference. Yeah, that makes sense, because that's a very tricky braking zone. And, you know, there's a curb there as well, so it could be any number of things, to be fair. But yeah, it's, as I think we're about to get pictures back, perhaps. There we go, and you can see the change in intensity of the rain. Look at those plumes of raindrops coming off of the diffusers of the cars. And now you can see why maybe the Pun crew have had a little bit of problems, as, yeah, this might be very tricky for everybody, as we can still see that Ryan has not been able to gap Killer Cleo at the moment, as it looks like that Mustang just has more confidence at the moment.
Yeah, and we've got a couple of the Ford Mustangs that are out there, and for the moment, it looks like Racing for Killer Cleo are going to want to hunt against the Audi here at this point. So it is going to be a very strong battle that we are going to see, and then you are going to start seeing all of those puddles, especially on that rutted front stretch, how bumpy it is, and it's so easy for the wheel to just basically take away from you at any different point as you go on the water. The contact patches of your tyres just walking themselves away. That is what I would call, at least at that moment in time, I would call that aquaplaning, and that's what everyone is trying to avoid out there at this point in time. The massive amounts of aquaplaning.
Yeah, for sure, and it won't help your confidence if you even get a snap of oversteer in these conditions. You know, the times, unlike in the dry, if you lack confidence, you'll be missing 1 or 2 seconds per lap. So it can really change in the blink of an eye. And you can see already on the sides of the track, look at that, puddles just accumulating. So on the straights, you'll want to keep more to the center and then move across maybe to take the racing line. But it's more a case of just judging visually what you see. And I will say, for people like Kamikaze, who will be partnering Ryan Littlemore in this race, they will have an advantage, because as rally drivers, they'll be used to dealing with these conditions. Having adaptability in these conditions is paramount to performance. And so if you're used to driving in any adverse weather, then now's the time to put the foot down, create the gaps, and put people under pressure, because an incident under these conditions is usually a big one.
Passes now going on just behind this group. That is, Emphatic and the Punkru White going at it as we focus then with Zukru. As there is Punkru White just losing out. That's Anthony Jenkins, who can't get the pass done on Fabio there. Emphatic now has to give a lot of chase then down over towards Nick with what is going about, and they're really having to work. The spray is starting to kick up quite extensively at this point, and so you're looking around, they're in the middle class of rain, and now the band of rain is going to start increasing. I'm hearing band 3 and potentially band 4 rain in the next 2 minutes as they go through the next strongest cell of rain that comes on through.
That's the Punkru car, if I'm not mistaken, with Hayden Gullis just ahead. And yeah, it looks like not too much damage on the car, to be honest. It's around the outside. Oh, contact though. Punkru just turning in a little bit too much. Hayden Gullis had nowhere to go there, and just a little bit tagged, but nobody in the barrier. As we should see that McLaren exit. Well, it's exiting sideways, and now it will be in the barrier as it skirts off to the left onto the grass. Thankfully, a huge runoff area on an airfield right now, so that is good as he hops over the grass and back onto the track. But it looks like Punju is struggling and struggling even more now to try and get the power down.
Allergic to rain, I think, is going to be the best way to do it. The Team Zupnikar have changed drivers, by the way. They've got Strasner now in behind the wheel, so we are seeing a couple of small driver changes being put in through the opening corner. That's the pole spin racing car through turns 3, 4 and into turn number 5. But at least for the moment, it looks like the number 44 is in position at number 4 at the moment. They're 11 seconds off of racing for Killer Cleo. That's the battle that they're trying to stay up with at the moment, second and third, and they're losing time to your overall leaders right now. Max Kramer doing a 2:17.9 on the last lap. By comparison, a 19.1 for Ryan Littlemore here. Really struggling in the Audi. And the one thing I would say about that Audi is the short wheelbase. I think it's something that really does hinder as it goes through the corners. It's very snappy when it gets to the rears, and so you can find this is a car that just launches and loses it for no reason at all. When you've got wet conditions like these, you want a long wheelbase.
For sure, and although they will have that four-wheel, well, sort of experience with the four-wheel drive system from the Audi team, you know, it's different when it goes circuit racing, and you can't always apply that knowledge. Just look how much more confident Killer Cleo is in the Mustang behind, trying to get some overlap of speed, and it's just not happening, is it? The Mustang would probably be the better car in these conditions, front-engined after all, but you've got to have that sort of instincts to know where to go for the gap, and with the spray it won't help, as you can see them dipping outside of the spray just to get some visibility as to where the Audi is going. And yeah, it's not happening at the moment. Also the livery probably playing an effect as well, because if you've got a grey car as they have in that Audi, that just means you become invisible in the braking zone sometimes, and that will not add to their confidence. But they're losing time. They're losing time hand over fist. The gap now to about 16 seconds, depending on where you are on track. As you can see both cars now skedaddling across the track.
It's a lake at turn number 1. They rush up to turn 3, and you really get a sense that out in front that this is a track that has now changed, and they're going to have to try and work those lines. You can see that big wide entry into the corner. You've got to try and cross the circuit and the rubbered in layers of the track as little as you possibly can, and so you get a sense of where do you want to be, how are you finding the times, where are the gaps going to start forming and bring themselves into play. We might have a battle on as well for 5th position. Big breaks there from the 22 against the 16, not going to fight. Because Pete's fight right now, and Spark is under a bit of pressure too, because we go over towards them soon, running through now here as we go on board with racing for Killer Cleo, and Reagan Carty, who's behind the wheel, in towards Cunningham Corner. You've got another scrap going on, 5th and 6th, and you know what, I'll throw 7th, or I'll just throw 7th into that, because that guy Vince is all taking the program.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of overtakes happening right now as you got Hayden Gullis still in battle with the Punk crew, and it looks like they're in a multi-car battle there for what is P7, with that guy Vince currently leading that pack at the moment. They're averaging quite good times, it must be said, but Nomad Racing as well in P6 has done a 2-minute 1-second lap time, basically near enough equaling P1 in terms of race pace at the moment. So they will be encouraged with this pace. They'll be hoping to keep the gap sort of closing to the top 5 there and hopefully get some overtakes done. But in these conditions, I can't see any other way than saying it's survival at the moment, as we might see an overtake here. The Mustang all over the diffuser of the Audi. They'll go to the outside. They'll force them to brake late. And there you can see there's traffic as well, quite rightly, Jake, and there's a huge amount of traffic. The Mustang trying to get the switch back. It's not happened. Ryan has kept it to the inside, but can't get the traction. This might be deadly into turn 1.
This is awkward for them because they've got Andrew George, their Ancephalosis, for Andrew's Superfast Racing team. They've got to get by. 2 Bandit, 2 Collective with Aerotech. They've got Matt 212 that's there, and Ryan Littlemore, Ryan L83, defends the inside. Huge slide! Oh, Reagan Carty all over turn 1, trying to get the power down early. The back deciding it wants it to kick up over the spray, holds it together and keeps this race for second on.
What a save. I mean, that was full opposite lock, that's for sure. And I don't think anybody wants that, especially on the concrete when you're turning into turn 1. It just happened on the apex. They were trying to get the overspeed, and I think just a little bit of aquaplaning happens there for the rear tyres. They'll take a couple of... Oh, nearly. I think that's Ancephalosis going nearly into the back.
Ryan Littlemore's gone straight on. Look at this, exit stage or enter stage right. That is a position lost there for Ryan L83 and the Cammy Moore team. That's what happens when you outbrake yourself.
I was too busy focusing on Ancephalosis that was about to hit the back. It's going to happen again, maybe. Oi, 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 the Porsche up the inside of Ancephalosis there, and it's got the move done. I think Ancephalosis is struggling a lot in these conditions. But yeah, looking at the car of Ancephalosis locking up, I completely missed Ryan going and doing the exact same thing as well. Very frustrating, but the pressure was on, and after a while you just crack and you have to relinquish the position or indeed make a mistake. But the good news for Ryan is he's now behind, so he can maybe do the exact same thing back and just focus on getting that confidence back and attack once again.
Yeah, so it's now about finding opportunities to get back into position, to run through the pack, to get back into that place. But look at the amount of traffic they're having to fight through at the moment at a lap down. These are all cars that are 25th place or lower in this race that they've got to get by. And it is really the toughest phase of the race. Every lap that you're trying to put together on the board, it will cost. It will be difficult here to work on through. So now you're really seeing that pace is dropping away. You are seeing now that drivers are right in the thick of it. They're now down to 2060s out there, and this track is sodden right now with this downpour that has come across the track. As we say, a downpour, it is going to get closer. I would love to see some of the other battles that starts fanning out as they run in towards the opening corner. That looked like, again, Ancephalosis, this time with Blake Jackson there for the squad racing team. That's close, but ultimately they're 3 laps down in terms of the difference maker. But I would love to go and see what's going on in 5th position, and I'd also quite like to see what's going on there, because you've got Team Spike. They're all right in 5th place. Look at who's behind them though. Nomad slowly working themselves up the order, plus 16 for the day.
Yeah, another person to watch out for is Pulsepin Racing in P4 at the moment. They're lapping 0.6 of a second faster than P1 at the moment and closing in. They've got about a gap of 10 seconds to Ryan Littlemore, but that will be whittled down in no time whatsoever. As it just becomes a game of confidence at this point. How far are you willing to push yourself and sort of mentally drain yourself, as we've got more than 2 hours left, and huge lockup from Nomad Racing, but they get it stopped. I don't know how they're managing to do that. That just looked as if it was a classic outbraking maneuver. But yeah, they're still in the battle, and you can see just the traction leaving the track as yeah, they just spin up the tires even in 4th or 5th gear at that point. This is beyond treacherous at this point.
They're really having to work hard here through this incredibly soaked circuit to keep themselves in play. Chris Chatterton then working to try and get away through on Sparks, on the brakes again. They hit the tower turn, which is named, of course, after the control tower that would have been there at that section, allowing this former World War II airfield base to have the likes of their aeroplanes taxi on the runways, on the brakes again off the Flying Fortress Straight, and working through Jean de Bienne corner, now through the Le Mans chicane and over towards the Oldman Straight. You can move over the white line at that section to attack, and one of the big keys is that white lines are traditionally slippy, even if they've got racing paint. Look at this run all the way over to the inside there. Nomad was saying, you are not going to shut this off for me. I'm going to get to the inside, I'm going to scrap for it. That BMW though's got some fantastic grunt in a straight line. There's not much that the Nomad car can do, but they're both going to fly off. They go mowing through the cones, and Chris Chatterton says, you know what, you can't turn, I'll take that.
Yeah, classic, just running it in a little bit too deep. They had the overspeed reading, it didn't work, as look at that BMW go all the way straight back past, but can they find the turn in for this one? It's going to be last of late breakers. That McLaren just gets a little bit tail happy on braking. That leaves him go really wide, and there through goes the BMW. They're going to have to try again this lap, and it's just not worked whatsoever right there. They're about 5 car lengths back. But that just demonstrates to you that while the cars have the same lap time, they are strong around different portions of the track. And when you've got a car faster in a straight line, it becomes an extra headache to overtake.
Well, the good news for them is that this track, which is now declared as extremely wet, which is a very correct assessment here from iRacing, is now going to start seeing that rain stopping soon. Look at it on the brakes. It's very much a case of, you know, you're more likely to see speedboat racing in this weather than race cars.
I think it might be faster. Those, I can't remember the name of the series, but the boats that race in like the closed tracks there around a lake where they have to take different turns and junctions. That's what this is at the moment. They're just trying to skedaddle across the track, as that is Ryan Littlemore off, I think, as well. I'm not sure if he's lost a position through that, but very, very slow. Don't think he's hit the barrier. There doesn't appear to be damage. Maintains P3, but Pole Spin Racing, I think you can see in the background there, or maybe even behind, the times haven't updated. Yeah, I think Pole Spin Racing is right behind in that McLaren right there. So difficulty and indeed now under pressure from P4.
It's one thing to spin, but when you spin and lose all the temperature in the tyres, you then got to try and build that heat back up again. It's really difficult in these conditions. The track temperature right now is 27 degrees Celsius here because of all the water that is on it. Air temp is 28 degrees Celsius out there, so it should evaporate quickly here around this place. And it is worth noting that they might be slightly fuel limited and almost gets run over, did Ryan L83 there, by the backmarker Blake Jackson. So there was difference makers to be had, as through the opening corner, there is your race leader, who is now down to just a 7-second gap. That was a 2:34 over that last lap, because Max Kramer has just spun it coming out of the final corner and has very nearly tagged the pit wall.
Unfortunate, we'll get a replay of it. Oh, Formula Drift right there. Can he get it all the way round? Yes, 360. Oh, no, actually, that is very, very close. That's putting it mildly. Yeah, just drifting back, trying to not hit the brakes too much, but you have to put the anchors on at some point. And he was very, very lucky, I will say, to not lose the rear wing in that or get any sort of damage. But if you want to spin, it's on one of the wider parts of the track, and thankfully there's a lot of, well, concrete area around there where you can at least get the brakes on, unlike on the grass. But yeah, a lot of people having troubles. I'd say visually the track is slightly less extreme wet than before. You know, nobody's going to be pushing for any new personal bests, but the rain isn't falling as hard as it was, at least.
Looks like it's about to stop in my mind, and so we're now in a place where drivers are thinking about what they do, and especially as well because we are at that stage of 45 minutes just gone through in terms of this race. they are looking towards, though, what would be a traditional first stop of the race. Obviously, they'll go a little bit longer because they would have taken fuel when they put their wet weather tyres on at 30 minutes, effectively, when they came in and made their stops. But that now extends out the pit window and probably is going to extend the pit window out of, I must come in and make a pit stop when it's about to threaten to rain again, and we are about 45 minutes away from the next category of rain that comes in, and that's going to be a very interesting part of racing that we will sit into and watch as well. So it's by no means an easy street at the moment, as Hayden Gullis right now looks to continue on with this race. This is a scrap with the Pun Crew White, 2 seconds chased over this lap. Absolutely easy as you like at Cunningham Corner. Anthony Jenkins wobbling all over the circuit, and there is not much that you can do when that yellow Ferrari jumps by the Creator Series car there of the Pun Crew White.
I think that Ferrari of Hayden Gullis will be getting a team radio in a minute saying it's nearly ready for dries, so box for dries at some point, as per tradition. As you can see, still very cloudy, so very difficult to even consider any sort of confidence.
Oh, Alex Gillen's gone around.
Yeah. Alex Gillen just swapping ends, I think, on his own. I don't think there was any contact.
No, he's had contact.
He has had
gone
contact
together with
then.
the IGL coatings and signed a traffic skull car, so Kettle Larson. So that would have been for position as Larson was trying to recover back through. They had Ruse Racing and the Vince Fam Racing teams all there together. So a lap to forget for Kettle Larson, who was down on the inside. Everyone went wide, and then a massive bit of malfunction at the junction as everyone decided to run straight for the inside line.
Not ideal, that's for sure. I mean, the problem is when you see people making mistakes in front of you, causes you to panic, and then you get involved in the incident. I remember Nürburgring Grand Prix, I think it was 2007, where one car went off and then just everybody followed. We should have a replay of the incident. Looks like we're not getting the correct camera in that one, sadly. So we do have cars passing. Maybe it does catch the incident. No, sadly not, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll take your word on it, Drake. We know that you're reliable with your information, let's put it that way. So while unfortunately we don't have the cameras, we had a great description of the incident, sorry. As we still have, I think this is our leader still pushing flat out and trying to recreate the gap that they had. I mean, they've lost quite a bit of it. The gap now, according to the timing, down to 7 seconds. So it was up at 15 seconds, so that's basically more than half of it gone, and that just puts you under extra pressure. But, you know, they've done an amazing opening stint, even if they have to pull into the pits now, and it sets them up well for the rest of the race, as the conditions will eventually dry out where they had good pace also. But you can see, you know, I say that, and every single corner, they're still fighting the traction. They're still trying to get that last tenth of a second of pace out there. And you have to ask yourself, and with basically 2 hours of racing left to go, are they over pushing it a little bit? Are they overstepping the boundaries when they're in a comfortable position?
No, because they are being caught, and on that last lap they lost 0.2 of a second to the number 22 Screw Racing for Killer Cleo. It's the 999 here for the safety rating team that lead here in this Creator Showcase race that we've got. No points for the championship here today. These are all about just finding a finish with 3 hours worth of running. So there is a lot to try and unpack as far as racing goes, and working out where you can find all those amazing places where overtaking is reliable, and where you can master these weather conditions and what are turbulent patches of racing action here from Sebring. This a circuit that has seen it all and probably done it all in terms of racing action, especially when it comes to iRacing. The iRacing 12 Hour of Sebring is one of the premier racing events.
Indeed, one of the events that I think everybody wants to win as well, because it's such an iconic and long-standing track, and you can see that just by looking at the layout. It's got that old-school vibe to it, and I do love that. And I think it's also a track that suits drivers in terms of the challenge that it adds. You know, you've got different surfaces, different corner types, and indeed lots of grass areas where you can't afford to put a wheel wrong. So over the course of, for example, 12 hours, or if not more, the 24 hours, if you want to run that long on this track, you can really sort of push the limits, but having that extra anticipation that it can go wrong in the blink of an eye, as we still see drivers just trying to push the limits. And now you can see the puddles are there, but the line on the track looks visibly more getting towards the dry area. So we might see a change basically in racing line, but also in terms of the times coming down, and they are tumbling. We're about 5 seconds a lap faster than we were about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, we certainly will do. There's great scrap going on. 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th at the moment is where the best racing is. And on the back of that is right now 11th and 12th too. So B Dunk Motorsport with Bradley Duncan. Ed Mackay is behind the wheel of the Pole Sim Racing Blue team in 11th position. This is all 7th down to 12th place, split by just 7 seconds on the road last time they crossed the line. So it is getting a little bit congested in the middle, and those top 10 places, everyone wants to try and fly a top 10 that sort of works out in play, but we will soon see how that goes into play. John, this is a really critical moment of the race.
Yeah, this is the 4D chess moment, as they call it. You've really got to time your pit stop to perfection. Do you have enough fuel to stay out to wait for the dry tires? There's a lot of questions happening right now, and I'm sure that for the people waiting to take over their spot in the car, maybe it's a little bit too early to think about that at the moment, depending on the confidence and pace levels of all of the drivers. You've got to start thinking of, can you make the two sort of coincide? Because you want to do one less extra pit stop. We've got some rain potentially scheduled for later on in the race, so it's a a mix-up and a throw-up. A roll of the dice is going to be, but yeah, definitely if you're on the pit road at the moment, if you're on the pit wall just trying to manage your other driver's pace, you've got to be doing all of the calculations and think of all of the parameters. I wouldn't want to be in that situation right now, because I know how difficult it is, having done it just once in my life previously, and I had all the scrapbooks out with various calculations, various looking at my notes. And yeah, very, very tricky conditions. But I think it will all boil down to, will the track dry out in the next 10 minutes, which is looking doubtful. And at that point, you have to come into the pits and just try and stay out, perhaps.
Well, I think at the stage that they're at, everyone had to come in, so everyone would have taken fuel. So they would have gone back up to full, and they would have got about half an hour. They would have taken their fuel. The big key is going to be an hour and a half then. That's going to be when we're expecting that next pit window to come into play around it when it comes to this race. But the next big important thing is going to be managing these drying conditions. They don't know how quickly this track is going to dry. They don't know from the extremely wet position that they were in how they go. The next big issue they're going to run into is they're going to have themselves these wet tyres. The last place that dries on a race circuit, John, is pit lane.
Well, and the grass as well. I was thinking of the grass while you were saying that, because that's where a lot of drivers, sadly, will end up at some point as they try to continue to push the limits. But yeah, for sure, pit lane, really, really tricky. Thankfully, pit lane is in a straight line on this track. However, the pit exit is not, as you'll be able to get a brief demonstration of that, because it's to the left-hand side of the screen there, and you'd be exiting just right there before the curb. So you have so many things to think about, and such a lack of confidence coming out the pit lane with extra fuel, so extra weight in the car, tyres that aren't necessarily on the perfect operating window, although they have the tyre blanket, so it shouldn't be that bad. But you could end up with like cold tyres in one corner if you go over a huge puddle. So really, really tricky.
We are working with a couple of issues here, ladies and gentlemen, regarding to our scoring. We will try and get that up then for you as soon as it becomes available to us. But for the moment, the focus is on this group for 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. And then just behind that, 11th and 12th. Interspersed in the middle of this is the Black Blade Racing performance car of Jeremy Schwarzer. They're in 10th position. We cut away over towards 3rd position, where Cammy Moore, then the team of Ryan Littlemore and Kamikaze, are going to now put themselves together in this position, are in 3rd place and are finding themselves a little bit isolated at the moment. 2 seconds, or about 1.4 on that last lap, to that car behind there, the Porsche of Pole Spin Racing, the 44, which is there in 4th position. But that group in 7th place is interesting because you've got that guy Vince for Vince Fan Racing, IGL Coatings and Sander Traffic Scholar, Kettle Larson, Gillen's team, Alex Gillen, Ruse Racing with Zachary Smith, and then you've got Evan Mackay for Pole Sim Racing Fluke, and then Bradley Duncan at B-Dunk Motorsport. So those 6 scrapping out in the middle, that's where I think we're going to get a lot of interesting scenarios when pit stops come into play in about half an hour's time.
A comeback for Alex Gillen, to be fair. He was facing the wrong way in the opening laps and just all the way down the field, but he's worked his way up in these rainy conditions. He is known to be very adaptable. As you can see, the track visibly drying there quite a bit faster than I anticipated, as basically only a few puddles in Sector 2 here, so we could see a crossover point at some point, although the spray is still quite high. But the good news is, with so many cars running around the track, it will dry the track considerably faster than if, for example, we were to have a safety car or whatever. We haven't had one this race, it must be said, so the cars going flat out around the track will just clear the water as soon as possible, as yeah, still the battle ongoing, as I think that's Pinju just trying to shape up a move, but nothing happening at the moment. You can see the drivers will start to just take their preferred line rather than take it cautiously now, and here is normally where you see the unfortunate incidents sometimes of drivers pushing too hard.
Yeah, so that is actually Nick Packin, who is there in the number 33 car there for Team Nick Packin Design, trying to get by the Punk Crew White, which is there in front, and Anthony Jenkins runs a little wide there through the opening corner, through the small kink of 2, over to turn 3, angling for the inside, doesn't quite manage to find that. You've got then the Paddock Racing team on the back of this as well. Scott Rankin behind the wheel. Good morning to Scott Rankin right now, driving out of Australia.
That is indeed, it must be, what, middle of the morning now? Yeah, indeed. Very, very tricky to just get up and drive a race around Sebring, that's for sure. But hey, there's more outlandish breakfast routines out there, I suppose. So if you've got an outlandish breakfast routine, why don't you tell us about it? I'm sure there's a few good stories to be had right there. But yeah, definitely they'll be hoping to have a little bit more normal conditions. I'd say the Punk Crew there is visibly faster than the McLaren in front of them. They're just waiting to shape up the move, and they're more aggressive on throttle, which just is always a good indicator of confidence. It's just, where can you overtake in these conditions? You can see everywhere off the racing line is still full wet conditions, and so as soon as you move off of that ideal line, you have not enough braking force or cornering speed to actually go around the outside or down the inside. So it's going to have to be a mistake for the moment, or just wait a couple of laps to see if anything happens.
So it's about patience at this point, because they know they can go and attack. That's a big aggressive line by Nick Packin, who is hoping to try and get through on Anthony Jenkins. Worth noting that Nick was driving the unsafety car in the opening hours of the race, and look at them follow in the rooster tails that get kicked up then by the spray, and now really focusing at Sunset Bend. There's an angle to the inside, just about room needing to be given, and Nick takes full advantage of that on the inside. It's Anthony Jenkins on the outside trying to hold that place for the Punk Crew White, and for the moment it's a case of Scott Rankin. He's got eyes bigger than the belly. He sees it as they fan out to 3 wide. Don't do anything silly through the opening corner. Wonderfully constructed overtake there by Nick Packin. Then that will be a jump up to 16th position with that pass. Scott Rankin will watch. And on the back, now joining this, it's a group of 4. It looks like the Punk Crew. Oh, well, it was going to be a group of 4. Eli doing Eli things. He spins again.
Yeah, sorry, misidentified the Punk Crew car, so that is the Punk Crew car. It just carried too much speed, I think, quite simply. But what an overtake we saw there, just carrying the extra apex speed. And the McLaren on the outside couldn't do anything about it. And yeah, just one of those things where confidence led to an overtake. And despite what I said, it looked like the lines were equally dry or indeed wet, depending on how you define them. on the outside and inside there. As you can see, the water forming along the cracks in the concrete slabs there, so you've got to be very cautious about choosing your line, as again the iRacing for Killer Clio car is still going out there and still going out there strong. Has lost a bit of time though, lost about 3 seconds between the time where we checked in on them last. So that's Lamborghini in P1 at the moment, going very strong. And it must be said, the Audi in the background there was still in visual range, but visibly dropping off the pace at the moment still.
Yeah, so now the gap at the front is up to 12 seconds between here for the safety rating and iRacing for Killer Clio. Vince Fan Racing here under pressure. This is going to be a big look by the Mercedes of IGL Coatings and Sons. Traffic score 46. Kjetil Larsen was hoping for a way through and wasn't going to manage that. So ultimately, for a case of that guy Vince, this is a tough defensive period. He'll have to go in because it's not just one that he's got to hold back, it's the moment that they go through. It's 4 that's there in this train, so it's the next 2 behind as well you want to worry about as well. This battle on for 7th position, because Alex Gillen and then the Rouge Racing car of Zachary Smith trying to go through. Lunge again to the inside, room given by that guy Vince in the Ferrari. And you can see that little light on the back flashing, indicating that's the rain light that's on and working for them. So you've got to try and pick that up in the rain that's there. But ultimately, it's a case of how close do you want to be, and can you find a decisive move out there? That's going to be the big difference maker.
Honestly, the difference here also is the engine layout of the cars. You've got the Mercedes, which is front engine, and you've got the Ferrari there leading the pack that is mid-engined. And basically, the Mercedes will have a little bit of an advantage of stability under the brakes, although might have a bit of understeer. However, the Ferrari should theoretically be faster on the apex, so it will be easier to defend, I'd say, in the Ferrari, but I mean, that Mercedes looks so confident on the brakes, basically sizing up a move every single corner. And yeah, this has to be very daunting for that guy Vince, I'd say, as Gillen also will probably get himself in the mix with this at some point. You can see closing it up as well. And the problem is also, is if you're having to defend a position all the time, you're losing pace overall throughout the entire lap. So that will concertina up everybody behind you. And we could see an instance where those 5 cars, which are basically already line astern anyway, they might already be going for moves on each other behind the Ferrari. So very, very interesting, and I wouldn't want to be in this pack right now fighting for position.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind is, compared to the race leader, they are now almost here, John, a full minute down.
That is, wow, just... yeah, incredible pace from the top 3, I'd say, definitely. As, yeah, I mean, Pulsepin Racing actually is in the mix, so top 4, let's say. But you can see us, when we were in the dry, let's put it this way, when we were in the dry, the gaps were a couple of seconds. And now it's tens of seconds. That is the effect of confidence in the rain. We kind of predicted it in the commentary box, but you never know how it's going to play out until we get to it. Also, difference in strategy of the wet tyres. I think some drivers left it too late, so add 10-20 seconds on for that also. But the good news is, still 2 hours to go, so they've got more than enough time to close those gaps back down, and I'm sure we'll see that happening as an overtake in the background. I think that was for P6 with Nomad and Team Spikes, perhaps? No.
Yep, so those are good scraps going on, and for Prestand and Nomad, they're okay at the moment. I think actually this is between 2 Bandit, 2 Collective, and Taylor Mills Racing. So those are 2 cars a lap down right now, scrapping for 21st position. And for the moment, Taylor Mills, she's on the inside. It's Aerotech on the outside, trying to get the drive off the exit. Ryan Littlemore's got the best seat in the house to this, by the way, as they battle a lap down for position. So for Aerotech, it's all about the pitch. Taylor Mills, she's been on the back foot from moment number 1. She is more adept when it comes to the likes of the LMP sorts of machinery and the hypercars out there. But so going down to GT3, Taylor Mills Racing car makes an astute pass then on Aerotech, and that is 21st position and is about 7 seconds back of the Monskers 55, which is in 20th place.
Oscar's car, famously being on the wet tires at the start of this race, not necessarily the best decision. But they could, I don't think they even stayed out on the wet weather tires. They had to pit for a new set of them, so not exactly working. Oh, Cammy Moore all the way round, and also I think the McLaren spinning as well in tandem. So unfortunate right
Yellow
there.
flag.
And indeed a yellow flag, a safety car.
The safety car has been deployed, and that will box this field right back up again. So on just one swift moment, just after the hour, the safety car is going to dent the 15-second gap that was played in for the safety rating. Now, the key here is that this is going to take time away, and this isn't like an unsafety car where this is going to be quick. They're going to be pacing behind the iRacing Porsche first safety, sorry, no, not the Porsche first safety car, the iRacing BMW M2 safety car that's going to be out there with all the flashing lights and bells and whistles on it. And so as they go, this is really going to build the field back in. And if I was clever in this situation, and knowing that this safety car is going to come out, if I am anywhere in the midfield, I would say 5th on back, I would be considering coming in and topping up my fuel.
I think I'd pit anyway. Will we see them dive into the pits? No, we won't. So you're quite correct, I guess. You know, it's a free, I wouldn't say free pit stop, but it's want cheap. To open up the strategy for yourselves when the rain happens. You don't want to be caught, say, 3 laps short before the rain arrives. So perhaps some teams considering that the rain's not going to arrive in time at the moment, so if they pit now they'll be caught short anyway, so better to maintain track position. You know, we have no indication exactly when or indeed if the rain is going to arrive. There's a very good probability that it will, but you know, it's all a game of chance still. And the one thing that drivers will be annoyed about in this scenario is watching those tire temperatures drop. You will be looking at that screen thinking, oh, it's turning from green to light blue to blue, and there's nothing I can do about it. And at the race restart, you're going to have to light up those tires and see if you can get the temperature back into them.
Ingrid Gabriela Castella into pit then for Rifty's Legends. She's taken the car from the very beginning of the race in the number 30, and it would be Layla Tatum who would come in afterwards to go into the car at whatever point they decide. And the key there is that Layla Tatum has spent the opening 2 rounds of the season as Rift Blondies, as a Rift Blondie spotter for racing like this. So losing your spotter, okay, yeah, you're going to have a few more gaps, but now this field is going to close back up again. Everybody's going to be on a level playing field to try and work themselves through, and the track is now at a lightly wet condition here. So this is now going to throw a spanner in the works. Now, something else that's going to be worth noting, lap cars will be waved through once cars are grouped. So that will mean any car that is 1 lap down in this race, and that goes all the way down to 30th position, it is going to be a case of they will get a wave around to move back onto the leading lap. You've got the Skur Squad Racing team who are still running. They're 4 laps down, but every other team behind that is out. We've got 3 retirees, the Joshimas.com by Prolapse Motorsports number 7 Lamborghini. The Bagel Gang are out, so Super Noodle Bagel getting the job done and dusted early, and then Chesnoid Racing out of the race in the opening hour of this one. It is critically here for the safety rating, who started 3rd, who now find themselves in control. But big props to those who have made huge gains, and the 2 I look at here, the Nomad 561 team and Gillen's team out there as we look in this safety car period, because they've gone from 22nd to 5th and 31st to 9th respectively.
Incredible maneuvers, incredible strategy just to keep it on track. I was looking then, I was just thinking to myself, is it ready for dry tires? I'm kind of role-playing the Ferrari pit wall at this point, just thinking, yep, today, now is ready to pit. But I think, honestly, it'll be maybe 3 or 4 laps. Now, depending on how long the safety car stays out, there's a world where if you pitted for dry tires now, maybe, just maybe, you'd be in the crossover period. But that's a huge risk to take with 2 hours to go. I don't think anybody will do it. It'll be very interesting to see if they do. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things where you have to reset now, and it'll be very difficult for the drivers, because I think at least the people that are in a team of 2 will be reaching the end of their driving period. tired. They'll want to swap over to the other driver at some point. And I think especially for Ryan Littlemore, he'll be wanting to get out of the car and swap over to Kamikaze. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think there's a lot of people in the pits. Well, there we go.
No, this is interesting. IGL Coatings and Sander Traffic Scholar have stayed out. They inherit the race lead because they've not pitted. And by my reckoning, everyone behind them did.
But are they going on to dry tires is the question. Is it ready? I'm not sure it is. It looked like there was a considerable amount of spray, but if the safety car stays out for another 2 laps, it may just be ready. You can see not too many puddles, unless you go off the racing line, which is a very big probability at the restart. But, you know, it's still too wet. Look at the spray coming off the car, and indeed the safety car. This is a gamble. If you're going wet at the moment, it's dries, it's a huge gamble.
It is a huge moment, and who comes out of the pit? So Maurice Hooter in for this SR. You've got Kamikaze in for Camimore. You've got Polespin who have gone to Rene Cota Sandoval. You've got Team Spite, they've kept the same driver in. Same at Nomad. Same at Vince Fam Racing. Racing for Killer Cleo, they've really lost time in the pit stop. They've dropped way down to about 7th, 8th positions here. So there are big differences being made by the pit stop window. It does bring everybody back into a sense of we can keep this going. The one thing that you would say is maybe the big I don't quite want to go on to wet tyres is the fact there's another band of rain that is due in about, I don't know, 20 minutes.
Just enough for a very quick sprint on a set of slicks, I guess. But thankfully, it looks like we have timing back. Well, I know, Jake, you had timing previously anyway, but for us, it might be a chance also to see the tyres and see how everybody has gotten away with these pit stops. As we can see, you know, obviously here for Safety Racing relinquishing the lead, but Safety Rating, sorry, relinquishing the lead, but they still P2 and they've got a fresh set of tyres presumably, and indeed the fuel that will take them well into the rain period, so they might not have to compromise too much on that. We'll have to wait and see. Alex Gillen going slowly there, not exactly sure what's going on there, but yeah, something going about.
Yeah, that didn't look too nice out there for Alex Gillen and co there, so let's look at why that's gone slow. That's a case of a couple places then going through, and it's the Nomad car. Oh, the Nomad car has completely got the front torn off of it. So it looks like Chris Chatterton's gone around, has had a half slide, and has gone right into that guy Vince. There's been a huge bust up under safety car.
That's yeah, that's not ideal for aerodynamics or indeed for driving confidence. Yeah, it can be so difficult when you're just trying to stay behind the safety car. You get distracted by either a message from your teammates or whatever, and you're straight into the car behind. But yeah, for sure, that's going to be a pit stop. That's going to be a repair. And you can see there, the field bunches up, but if you've not got the tyres up to temperature, you hit the brakes, nothing happens. You go straight into the car in front of you, and it's so easily done while trying to warm up your tyres, especially after a pit stop. So we'll see them probably go into the pits. I don't think they've got much of a choice yet. And that will be all the way, sadly, to the back of the pack, but not out of the race, crucially.
And into the pits then will come IGL Coatings and Sander Traffic Skull, and I think they've just sped on pit lane.
Oh, what a disaster. You can't believe it. When it rains, it pours, as they say. We've found that out literally and now figuratively in this race.
It's either that or instant points, but they're now in the car, and that is a massive amount of a kick in the teeth there. The penalty flag was next to their name, and for IGL Coatings and Sander Traffic Skull, they will look at that and think, we had a great chance here being at the front, but ultimately the point comes into play, and it costs big in terms of how they go, because they're going to have to sit and take the penalty, which is, I believe, about 40 seconds. Chris Chatterton now will exit pit lane and continue on with the race behind the safety car. But that is a big moment as far as as things get themselves sorted. I'm just looking at the safety car here, and the lights are off, which means we will be going back to green this time by. Ryan L83 has decided to jump in with us after that first stint. Magically, you're in second because you've had about 2 spins.
Yeah, I mean, I've not experienced iRacing's wet rain before, as intense as that, so did struggle a bit near the end of the stint before the pace car came out, so I'm glad I survived. That was the goal me and Cammy decided to do. Now he's in the car. We'll see how he does. He's a bit quicker than me in these sort of dampy conditions, so we'll see how we get on.
In terms of building the strategy for this race, it looks like a really difficult one to try and work through. 2 massive bands of rain then coming through at basically an hour's interval in this race. How do you prepare for that? Did you have a strategy going in, or was that a case of, oh, there's rain and it's going to hit and now we've got to try and work things out on the fly?
Yeah, we had a kind of a plan going into this in terms of strategy, but these conditions changed drastically, massive. So like at the start of the race, it was more strategically, do we go on the wets or the dries? Because we saw Lichtenberg was on the wets and we were on the dries, so it was a last-minute call. It was the right call, but now we're going to see how it goes now for Cammy, and we're slightly off on what we wanted to do, but I know Cammy very well. I think he has a plan, and we'll stick with what he wants to do and see how we get on.
Okay, we're going to wish you the best of luck with that, Ryan. We're looking at Kamikaze potentially going back-to-back as we now run on in and get ourselves set for a racing restart here with just under an hour and 42 minutes to go here at the Sebring International Raceway for your 3rd round of the Creator Series. This being the first Creator Series, I would say, community showcase that we've got in full display at this moment. Maurice Hooter in control for the 999 here for the safety rating. Cammy Moore in 2nd, and then Pole Spin Racing find themselves in 3rd due to the IGL penalty that came into play. They've put Alexander Totem-Skaray back into the car. Let's get ourselves then ready as they exit Sunset Bend as the pace car dives down on in, and an early launch then from Maurice Hooter, but look at the way that Kamikaze is immediately active to it, moving to the outside to try and pick it off in the Audi. Doesn't quite get there, but Maurice is going to go straight on by a country mile, and Kamikaze is in the race lead. Here comes Pole Spin Racing.
Spin Racing looking to get the overtake, won't do it. Team Spikes looking to try to get the overtake as well, going a little bit wide, it must be said. But I was going to say, probably it's for the best for everybody that Kamikaze is out in the lead, as here for the safety racing, having a little bit of a problem off of the corner there, just not getting the power down. I think just wheel spin and the traction control engaging, and look at that, visibly another 5 car lengths. They're under pressure from Pole Spin Racing. They'll have to go to the inside. Looks like they're not challenged yet for the position.
Oh, straight on!
Yeah, locking straight on. Something is wrong. Are they on the wrong tires? Have they pitted for slicks? We didn't get an update of the tires, but it looks like they're on the wrong tires according to me.
I think they've just outcut themselves here as they go. You can see the tyres. Team Spike is on a set of the dry tyres. So too is Racing for Killer Cleo. They're on dry. So you get a sense that drivers have predominantly said it's wet tyres. And look at the difference. That's a car going the wrong way around. Now at the exit of Cunningham corner, that is Maurice Hooter. The 999 has now pointed the wrong way. What a disaster start for the team that's dominated the first hour and a half.
Oh no, all the way from first on the restart, all the way down now outside of the top 10. I can't believe it, and they're getting overtaken still. I think just lack of confidence. It's so devastating when you make one mistake, it just compounds into the next. And Kamikaze sensed maybe on that turn.
Oh, that was a huge accident. Huge accident. Nick Packin's been caught up and involved in it. There are slow cars about like Fabio and Fratic in trouble as well. It's all kicked off on the Flying Fortress straight with the spin of Nick Packin, and there's been a huge shunt up straight through the rear of the likes of Scott Rackett. Look at it as they head onto the Oldman straight. It is carnage.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure which car caused that incident because obviously a lot of extra same liveried cars, as Punkrew's got a lot of damage there as well. So the McLaren's in the wars as yeah, I think everybody's tripping up over each other now.
Yellow.
And yeah, of course you have to throw. I think you have to throw a safety car here. You have to just get it back under control. So many cars tripping up over each other. It was just going to lead to a disaster. And yes, safety cars lead to safety cars, as they say, and I think a lot of people will need to pit for repairs. But basically, it's the sense of one car tries to go for a move, it doesn't work out, and then it just has a concertina effect of where you get 4 cars going for the same position because they kind of have to, otherwise they get trampled over. And yeah, for Kamikaze, he'll be very well, thanking his lucky stars that he got that move done, as we've got a car that's overdone their pit box there. Is that Punkrew?
Yeah, Amir Mohammadi, who's behind the wheel, was caught up in the first big shunt, and there was a secondary shunt that came through as well, with them tagging around Taylor Mills Racing, who, of course, were about to jump up into the top 5 after being a lap down for the first half of the race, which is nuts to think about in terms of how they were going about. So let's get some stock, because a lot has happened on that lap to throw the safety car back out again. Cami Moore lead with Kamikaze behind the wheel. Holcim Racing are second, Team Spike are third. Fourth, sorry, I'll correct myself now, because it looks like Team Spike are running into their own issues out there and are out by the looks of it. Have they had the DC out there? That would be huge if they have. And that they will. So it looks like Sparks had a DC. So Gillen's team now into third. Vince Pham Racing in fourth. Paulson Racing Blue now make your top 5. And suddenly, this is a race where you now cannot predict what's happening. A crazy restart. Those who are on the dry tyres right now absolutely hate the fact that a second safety car has been called, because they're going to be now in a position where they look, and it's Score Racing for Killer Cleo who will be the ones who look at it. They will have to come in and pit for wet tyres once again, and that rain is encroaching even closer.
Yeah, I don't think it's raining though yet, so it's still working in the favour of the dry tyres, but as you say, yeah, it will. If it goes on for another 5-10 minutes, then they're in danger territory. As yeah, I think just taking the risk, really, as only a few cars took that risk. And, you know, when you do the driver swap over, you want to be on the ideal tyre. And I think some cars getting caught out by swapping the tyres over so that you had a very imbalanced car as the safety car picks up the race leader there. So we're only at the start of the safety car period here. Yeah, I think you're correct then, Jake, in terms of the dry tyre runners are in trouble now.
Yeah, this is going to be very tough for them. They will have to make an extra pit stop, and it will probably be just as the safety car dives in, and I would suggest moving on to wet tyres at that point. They'd lose all the track position, but they'd have the way to go through. Fortunately, those drivers who got all caught up in that big wreck have a chance to get back in with the fast repairs if they've been using them properly. I do hope at some point we'll get a chance to see that huge chain reaction that started with Nick Packin along the Flying Fortress Straight into the left-hand corner of Bishop. I don't think we will, but if we do, we'll be very lucky for it. But it's completely...
Oh, on a safety car. What's going on?
Almost into the wall there. That was a big moment.
Monsters and
that
Risky's
the
legend.
Monsters car then having a moment in a straight line as they started checking up, and Team Zupner then coming together along with Fabio there in Infratic.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what was going on there. Anyway, we're having a replay. I think we might see the move. I think we're waiting to see what incident this is. I think this is just after the safety car came out, so we might get a glimpse of that incident. But from what I could see, Monskers just tried to warm up their tyres and just went straight into that will be Team Zupner, as far as I can see. Oh no, hang on a minute. No, it's Tackle Shop Racing. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on there. So anyway, Monskers was involved. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so there were incidents involved, and this is the cars that were out there and was working around under these safety car conditions. So it looks like as they were working their way around, they were just trying to keep themselves in play. So at least as it goes for the moment, we've got drivers now looking to try and hold themselves steady. And speaking of those who are holding themselves steady, what a good drive Hayden Gullis is having so far, into 7th at the moment. And Alex Gillen, from 31st on the grid, is 3rd.
He just has to do the last to first in every competition, doesn't he? It's kind of his way of just showing what he can do, that's for sure. I mean, it's working out for the moment. There's a long way to go in the race, about half distance now. But yeah, definitely Hayden as well, showing his talent in that Ferrari at the moment. And, you know, he's got to be counting his lucky stars at the moment, because he's had the pace, he's kept it clean, and crucially, the incidents have not ended up taking him out of the running. We've had, I think it was the Pung Crew car that lost it behind Hayden at some point, that was so close to take him out of the running. And, you know, you just have to get lucky sometimes in a race like that. And, you know, it's a bit too early for me to be saying that, perhaps, as they're only half distance. But for the moment, it's going well, let's put it that way.
Well, at the moment, I'm sure that Hayden Gullis there will be looking at the jiggly puff on the side of the car and going, right, it's sleep time out there at this point. But at least for the moment, it is a case of, we've got a couple drives into the pit, we've had a dramatic come together with Black Blade Racing Performance and Seth Lee underneath this caution period. So in Racing for Killer Clio, that will be for wet tyres. 212 Esports Orange, Team Zoopner in, that will be for damage, and Taylor Mills Racing are also down in on the lane. So that will bring more perspective in. Lights still on the safety car, which means there's at least one more lap of pacing after this one to construct. And what it means is more time that gets put on the board, and that rain is looking like it's going to arrive again, but not as heavy as the first band here. That's going to be important to know. Only Class 2 rain expected here from what is lighter rain here for this second batch that will come through, which again will last roughly about half an hour.
So Class 2 about intermediates to wet conditions, approximately, for those that might be new to the iRacing weather system. And crucially, Ruse Racing and indeed Brenton Hyperstar and P13, so P6 and P13 respectively, staying out on the dry weather tyres. And it looks like they're going to do that for, well, the restart. I don't see them pitting next lap. We've seen some overtakes here. I'm not sure what car 30 is doing. I think just a brief, maybe reset of some equipment there. Looks like maybe unlapping, but I'm not quite sure. It looks like they've
that looks like a wave around.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, you're quite right. You're quite right. I think they were hesitating. They might be hesitating.
So now the safety car lights have been turned off, which means we will be going back to green flag running on this lap. So they all look to move around and give the space to the cars that are trying to unlap themselves as they go through. No orders in terms of how they do that. It's figure it out for yourself here in the Creator Series at the moment. And that certainly has been working around. That's Layla Tatum behind the wheel of the number 30 then, moving on and making that progress then, being teammates with Rick Blondie. But for the moment, it is a case of Kamikaze at the front, Whole Spin Racing in second, Alex Gillen in third, and that guy Vince is in fourth position through all of what has happened. I think the last half an hour can be pretty much put down to a fever dream here, John.
Look at the track as well. It's basically dry in the third sector. They're going to be struggling on these tyres, but in sector 2 especially, it looks pretty damp still. So it's a crossover point. When is that rain going to arrive? I think the dry compound runners at the moment might be faster, and that's going to create chaos throughout the pack. It's all about surviving now until the rain, because that's going to change the running order once again. It's going to change drivers' confidence, and then it's a case of how intense is that rain? How much grip do you have? It's going to just, again, throw the race order into chaos as Kamikaze looks to get the race going. I know he likes to play a lot on the race restart, so he's not a man of great patience, but he's a man of great pace. And I think he's going to choose a very inopportune moment for the second place runner at the moment to just gun it and go. Let us
this
see.
might... Yeah, so there's the go, right on the edge of the corner. Very dangerous to do in wet conditions because you could easily spin the rear tyres up. We're back to racing, and they'll practically be single file back to Hayden Gullis, who's got Larry Andrews then down the inside. PSR from Timu to the inside, making that pass. And look at Rouge Racing, because Bolson Racing Blue, miles off the circuit. Look at this difference maker. Rouge Racing is going to be making the progress. Now they're going to go into turn 3. Hayden Gullis on the inside, Fabian Ming on the outside. Oh, and Hayden's going to go for a spin.
Oh, just as I've jinxed him, haven't I? Because I said he'd not been involved in any incidents, and around he goes, dropping already down to P17, P18. He's outside the top 20 now. So unfortunate, so easy to tag another driver in these conditions. But Rouge Racing looks to have the grip and the pace right now. Now, it's important to remember, they've been behind the safety cars, so the wet tyres, although it's not optimal conditions for them, they won't be overheating for the moment. However, it will get worse if the rain doesn't fall. Although, a bit of rain, or that might just be a pickup from the standing water. Doesn't look like the rain is falling at the moment. So this is going to be interesting to see if Rouge Racing especially can get any overtakes done on the wet line that is offline at the moment.
Well, it's going to come around from this section of the circuit if you are going to start seeing rain. I reckon it's 2 minutes away. So over the next lap or so, we might start seeing the first little bits of rain that will fall. But for the moment, the 70 gives chase and tries to find a way up a little bit more. There's the rain, and it hits, and it comes along through, again, same section of circuit, Jean de Bien corner, onto the Ullman Straight, and now you're really in a panic stations moment if you're on a set of dry tyres, because look at the run off the exit. Rouge Racing loses out, PSR from Timu, moving up then into the top 5, and everyone who has stayed out on wet tyres has made, in my mind, the correct decision.
Yeah, for sure. They've lost 2 seconds in one corner, has Rouge Racing. They're going to have to pit this lap. They're just so slow in terms of pace. Alex Gillen looking very, very consistent and clean. Do they stay out? Rouge Racing stay out. Wow, that is brave. I think they're just banking on the fact that it's only in sector. You can see it falling at turn 1 as well. Not ideal on the concrete. So this rain is encroaching more rapidly than we thought it would, as Alex Gillen gets a huge twitch on the exit of turn 1, but he is looking racy. He's trying to overtake Pole Spin Racing for P2 at the moment, and I think he has a decent chance of it. As you can see, those rain lights on for everybody apart from Rouge Racing, as through at least sector 1 it looks like he has the advantage again, 0.3 of a second to P5. And we've got multiple battles here going on in the midfield. Contact straight away. L-Hop Racing going for a spin, and both of them into the wall. Yeah, unfortunately that'll be damage on the car. Hopefully nobody collects them on the rejoin. Very dangerous place. But what can you do? You've got to get back up to racing speed.
Joey Latresciano and Taylor Mills coming together on the exit of turn 5 over towards turn 6. It was Taylor who caught a wiggle trying to put the power down, and that's caused the contact that has seen the pair go around. PSR from Timu now looking at 4th place, trying to pick up passes on the run through Collier, and now into the tower corner. Larry Andrews can't get by that guy Vince, not yet, but this is all about holding yourself steady in this front group. Top 5 are clear at the moment, well, top 6 are clear at the moment, and then it's Pole Sim Racing Blue in 7th, the Punk Crew White starting to drop, and Scott Haddock missing the entire front clip, has gone around for a spin through the tower corner, has caught Racing for Killer Cleo, has caught B-Dunk Motorsports, and has absolutely caught the taco shop.
Oh, dearie me. Hang on, car off as well. Is that Punk Crew? I'm not sure. I think it's the Paddock Racing team. Taco Shop, sorry. Yeah, indeed. So there you go. Both cars with significant damage. It looks like they just can't turn the car around right-hand corners. They're going to have to give up positions, and it's not worth fighting with it. I think they've been tagged from the rear, it looks like. Oh, no, they've gone... Oh, no. Oh, what a terrible thing. Collecting 3 cars, 4 cars involved, 5 cars involved then, with at least collisions, and then your park's on the racing line. Not much you can do about it, but you've just got to get moving and hopefully get yourself out of danger. That was terrible, and most of the cars involved in that couldn't do anything about it.
You know, it's a case of it's right on the exit of the corner and you just have to sit. So Punkru White in, B-Dunk Motorsports in, Taco Shop Racing in. Tough day at the office for them, and they're going to need a lot more help in the remaining hour and 24 minutes to bring themselves back into play. So this is a big moment right now as drivers try and work out, well, how much rain is falling and how big of an amount of rain is it going to be, because they are right on the edge of a hook at the moment when it comes to rain. Side by side off of the exit then as PSR from Timu, Larry Andrews eyeing up Alex Gillen, and Gillen loves a fight and loves to say it's not him who's at fault for any incident. He is very much a driver who likes pinching. He has to leave the door open here in towards Cunningham Corner, and he'll fight on the exit. Great work by Alex Gillen, trying to give the room, but he's not going to get drive. PSR from Timu are on the podium.
Yeah, that was brilliant racing, must be said. They gave each other room. They weren't too overly aggressive about it, and I know Alex will be seething from that because he does not like being overtaken at the best of times. But at some point in racing, you just have to admit defeat when you've got an hour and 23 minutes of racing left on the clock at the moment. So, you know, it's more than an ample opportunity. And we saw this in the changeable conditions. That Mercedes is a beast, or indeed the drivers driving it can be a combination of both. But it is so quick and so stable in these conditions that it gives you a confidence advantage. As I'd say, again, that Audi is struggling at the front of the pack with these conditions. Looks very twitchy, looks very underpaced at the moment. Once we got to full wet weather racing, it was fine, but this intermediate changeover period is doomed at the moment for the team in first place.
John, let me just say this quite calmly. 4 manufacturers in the top 4, as that is a look down the inside and a half. Great move done by the IGL Coatings and Sander Traffic Skull team. Alexander Tofton Skarek going through on Team Zootner. And now here comes Nadia El Hop Racing. Latresciano to the inside to try and find that move. Does so at turn number 1, but 4 manufacturers in your top 4.
Adds another variable to the mix, doesn't it? I love that. And that Mercedes definitely running a different aero package to everyone else. I don't think that'll be helping the turn-in. At least the front splitter is still alive and well, which means that you won't have too many problems turning in, but you never know. Yeah, as you can see, just on the exit of the corners, you can see the Audi just sliding a lot. And, I mean, although I say that, and he's brought a huge gap now from Pole Spin Racing. I think they were both struggling for traction, the Porsche. And look how close the Mercedes is. So yeah, okay, the Porsche is struggling as well, but that Mercedes is just so stable out of the corners. Look at the twitch from the Audi, look at the twitch from the Porsche, but nothing from that Mercedes car to indicate that there's any trouble with traction whatsoever. And that is where, on the brakes and on the traction zones, you're gaining the time. Look at the Porsche just slightly off of the apex. Again, another half car length given up. And that puts you under pressure for the next turn. All the Mercedes has to do now is move off of the racing line to indicate that there may be a move. They might be going for it. Whoa, so close. And that's the confidence. I mean, that maybe that wasn't intentional, but it proves that the grip is there and that this Mercedes is being held up everywhere across the track.
Well, I look at this, and for me, I think that PSR from Timu have put a wet set on the car. I think they're really trying to maximise these conditions, and this look for second here at Sunset Bend as he dives straight to the inside. Larry Andrews gets rid of Rene Cota Sandoval and makes the pass to go to second. Alex Gillen will now say, I want some of that as well, and want to get back to what he will claim is his podium at the moment, but it is still Kamikaze out in front and holding the control of the field. Rouge Racing have done a really good job of holding themselves out there and holding themselves steady. They're keeping the temperature in the tyres. They're not losing too much by going and doing what they are at the moment. And that's the case. They could be on track making something happen. Taylor Mills, seemingly she can't stay out of the drama at the moment. Latresciano through on the inside. That makes it work. Pole Spin Racing now find themselves dropping, or someone else does. at this stage, because the Pun Crew find themselves losing a position, and everywhere you look there's something, because it looks like, yes, it was Pulse Spin Racing who just find themselves sliding out of turn number 3, and they'll lose the places then to the likes of Gillen's crew and also Vince Fan Racing.
Yeah, I want to point out as well that the rain looks to have stopped, at least for the... Oh, well, no, I said nothing. As soon as I said that, I restarted in this sector at least. But it's quite patchy at the moment then, let's say. Because on certain parts of the track, the rain is not falling whatsoever. And then you have some turns is very, very sort of to and fro between the corners. So you're just having to adapt. And especially if you're in P6 right now on those dry tyres, you are just changing grip levels all throughout the lap. Look at this. The brakes and the engine might not be from Temu, but PSR from Temu is looking to go for that P1. And Kamikaze, if I know him well, and I do know him certainly quite well, he will not want to give up that race lead under any circumstances. He will defend the position until the bitter end, but it looks like, with that supreme confidence in the Mercedes, that bitter end may come sooner rather than later. Yeah, incredible stuff.
Look at the slipstream here from Larry Andrews, moving over to the right-hand side for Sunset Ben. He's passing like a millionaire down the inside, trying to hold the outside line. Is Kamikaze, the move is made. Larry Andrews leads the PSR Temu.
Just, wow, the level of grip. He's already got 3 car lengths by the turn exit. I mean, that's incredible. He's already up the road. There's nothing Kamikaze can do about it. And I will say that Alex Gillen is not exactly closing in on the back of Kamikaze as well. This is pure pace from PSR right now. They are just in another league at the moment. It may be setup wise. Although, look at Alex Gillen closing in that Ferrari. Actually, I take it back. It looks like Kamikaze might be struggling the same way that Ryan struggled in the damp conditions. Now what Ryan and Kamikaze will be hoping for is either more rain or significantly less rain as it is right now, as that might bring the Audi back into play a little bit, as I think I'm still correct in saying there's still 4 different manufacturers in the top 4, as Alex looks to do a move, the dummy move, the classic Alex Gillen maneuver. It did not work on Kamikaze, a little bit too experienced for that.
Well, it does change now, because both Vince Fan Racing and Alex Gillen are both in Ferrari, so it's 3 in the top 3 that we're down to at this stage. But a great move, and already 1.5 seconds clear at the front. Alex Gillen is looking at this going, well, I would quite like second now. And Kamikaze, for the first time really all created series so far, looks vulnerable.
Yeah, just want to say, Pulse Spin Racing has been overtaken there for well, he's now P5 now. So that was something that must have just happened off of our cameras. As yeah, it looks like Alex is really putting the hammer down, and Kamikaze just struggling. I think this is now where, as again the rain continues to fall even harder than before. So those conditions changing once again for our drivers, just as they were getting used to the slightly less rain. And this will bring the favour, I think, back to Alex Gillen, as you know, Kamikaze's getting the exits at the moment, but at some point, as you said previously, that shorter wheelbase Audi will become very, very twitchy. And, you know, at some point you have to know how to pick your battles. Kamikaze being very smart about it, although going very much to the inside line there, just defending, just saying you won't try and steam it up the inside. Alex getting the switch back, and here we go for, I don't think that graphic is correct.
So this is 11th and 12th, sorry, at the moment. So this is IGL Coatings and Sander Traffic Skull against Nadia El-Hop Racing, which is Aiden Pole's team out there in 12th position, trying to get up to 11th to make that pass, and really struggling to find a way to make that happen here along that front run. Once again in towards the corner, the Porsche can't do anything against what is a car that's very damaged on the front. The clip completely missing off of the Mercedes, I believe it is, going into the next corner. Tough angles to find at turn 3, but Latreciano is going to try prodding and probing to find a way through. They've got Amir Mohammadi for the Pun Crew just in front of them, and the gaps are slowly starting to open up. But again, I want to talk about Rouge Racing at this stage, because I think they are the team to watch now. They've stayed out. They've decided we're going to commit to this decision of being on the dry tyres. They don't care how wet it gets, so long as they can keep the heat in the tyres right now, John. And they've only got to survive, in my mind, 17 minutes worth of rain, and they don't have to pit.
Pulse Sim Racing just getting past Rouge Racing there, just Rouge Racing locking up a little bit. Look, it's the famous thing, right? The wet weather can't alter your tyre temperatures unless you consent to it. So Rouge Racing not consenting to the rain affecting the tyre temperatures, and it's working well for them at the moment, but they are slipping and sliding and visibly losing time, as you can see. Although it just seems like they are not really too affected by it at the moment, which looking at the amount of spray is just mesmerizing. You can see visibly, actually, their car has less spray coming off of it because they have no grooves on their tires. That is indicating just how wet it is now.
Oh, and I've just seen a wonderful pass, as we're not going to just see it there, just in the back of shot. Alexander Toftum-Scarrett going through on Amir Mohammadi at the Pung Crew, and now Nadia El Hot Racing, I think, are going to want to try and get through as well. They run into Sunset Bend, 5th, 6th and 7th at the moment. Polespin Racing number 44 finding themselves in 5th with Rene Cote Sandoval, Fabian Ming now for Pulse Sim Racing Blue. That's 2 Pulse Sim Racing cars now in the top 6, and Rouge Racing now starting to struggle a little bit now in 7th. It gets busy on the exit of Sunset Bend. Latresciano again back to the inside of Mohammadi now, so the Pump Crew really struggling and moving across the braking zone.
No.
One thing you can't do going into turn 1, Amir Mohammadi hard into the tyres.
Yeah, so unfortunate. I mean, yeah, defending the inside is a priority, but I don't... Is that the Punk Crew? I'm not sure. I think... anyway, yeah, it is the Punk Crew. No, sorry, yeah. But it's... rejoin as well! Oh, no, you don't want to do that collected. I think Team Nomads there. And, oh, so tricky at the moment. And well, it's so easy to lose it in terms of mental state as a driver once you've had a really big mistake like that, where you were essentially the cause of the incident, and then you rejoin, you don't pay attention, and that's what happened straight onto the racing line. So unfortunate, as that turn 1 is unsighted as well, as we might see an overtake here.
We might do. This is the recovering car of Sparks trying to get through on Nick Packin, and there is the Pung Crew behind that too. So that is going to be very difficult out there in terms of how they manage through. There is Nick Packin going through the Fangio S's and all the way up then to Cunningham Corner. Believe it or not, they used to run Formula 1 cars here in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, a lot of old tracks are like that, and it was just a different era. Obviously, more suited to the cars back then because lower speeds. If you tried to run a Formula 1 car around here, it would just bounce off the track nowadays, I think. But yeah, I love the older race tracks for their switchback moves that you can get, for example, the wide open turns, whereas nowadays you see more angular, like 90-degree turns, and I feel like just the... Oh, look at that BMW, the grip! No, surely they're going to the inside on that one. As, yeah, huge overspeed they had. They didn't manage to make it... Oh, car from the background, who was that?
Skirt Squad, they're upside down.
Yeah,
they've rolled it, and that's the number 23 that's 2 laps down. Blake Jackson in behind the wheel there, and that is a massive off going through, heading over through Bishop. I think may have just caught a puddle. Yeah, just caught a puddle, and then over the grass, and look at that, skating, and just an absolute passenger.
Ouch, ouch, ouch. And yeah, look at that rear wheel. It's pointing 30 degrees, and that's crabbing. That's going to be huge back to the pits. That might not be repairable. Contact here as well. Pulse Sim Racing, I think, going for a spin, just collected. Not given enough room, or drifting wide on turn 1, depending on the point of view. Not too much harm done, but just positions lost. Nadia El Hot Racing going for a spin as well. Keep out the wall. No! Oh, collision on the rear. That's going to be wing damage, as I can see, and rear damage to the diffuser as well. So the conditions, visibly, you can see there's more water on track, and drivers are finding out that, yeah, there's no grip either.
No, absolutely none, and they've just got to try and survive this final phase of rain. Pulse Spin Racing 44 now in 5th position. Rene Cote-Sandoval, they're dropping a lot of time here. Now they've fallen over 7 seconds off the race lead, and that guy Vince has got to hold the weight of the world behind him. I'll tell you what, he is having a stellar drive, is that guy Vince.
Yeah, he is literally just, I wouldn't say parking the bus, because he's got pace, you know, he's fast. But he's just making it so that the drivers behind him have nowhere to overtake. He's making sure the car gets to the apex, nicely on throttle, and there's no problems, no wiggles, no traction control deploying, so that you allow the Porsche behind him to get the overspeed. And he's going for that defensive maneuver. You go wide into the turn and then carry the speed through the apex so that nobody can get a run on you. That, unless you make a mistake, is nigh on impossible to overtake. So a very, very impressive defensive maneuver, as Killer Cleo, or Skir Racing for Killer Cleo, I should say, is looking to make some moves here. They were in P2 earlier in the race, so in these wet weather conditions where they excelled at the start, maybe they can make a move. Although I did notice some damage on the front of that Mustang as well, so not ideal.
No, but this is a car that was running top 3 in the early stages. Definitely got a caved-in front. Right now does that car, as that guy Vince is still able to hold margin at the moment in 4th position. But look at the run off the exit from Rene Cote-Sandoval. Pole Spin Racing thought about it out of 2 to 3. It's defended on the inside by that guy Vince, and now the group's starting to close up. Rouge Racing are able to hold this pace despite the wet conditions out there on dry tyres. And then you've got the likes then of the pass made by Regan Carty through on Micah Dern for the Monskers team. So they've just changed the Skir teams for Killer Cleo, and for the moment it's Regan Carty who's now going to be looking to try and make more progress in. On the brakes, the hotel hairpin here, and this will be the run to the furthest part away from the pits on the circuit. To Cunningham Corner they now look to think.
Yeah, Pole Spin Racing looks to do a dummy maneuver to the inside, and that guy Vince didn't even flinch, really didn't even make an attempt to change the course of his car, just broke where he needed to. Oh, Pole Spin Racing just locking up a little bit, I think going extremely wide. But hang on, problem for that guy Vince, just didn't get any traction, and that has left the inside. I don't know how he's managed to keep that car ahead, just managed to find grip where there isn't any, but that means that guy Vince just still manages to keep this P4 from drivers that maybe now are getting a bit more confident.
Well, here's the issue, John. Do you think that there's a movie playing right now from that guy Vince right now, and it's Indiana Jones and Defender of the Lost Corner, as Zachary Smith runs wide into Jean de Bien corner, and Regan Carty wants the move?
I think it's that guy Vince and the quest for holy grip at this moment. But yeah, it's not working at the moment. They're skedaddling all over the place. I think maybe that Porsche just has a better balance in these conditions. There's a Ferrari on the track. Please don't rejoin onto the racing line. Not exactly sure who that is. I don't see a car number. Oh, dearie me. It goes from bad to worse for them, doesn't it? Maybe shaping up a move. Looks like that guy Vince just slams the door shut. Nope, you're not getting past there, as everybody's going wide in the background.
Yeah, Rouge Racing on the outside. There's not much they can do when they don't have traction on a dry tyre. Through goes Regan Carty. That will move Skir Racing for Killer Cleo now up into 6th position with that pass. So some excellent battling in play here, right in the middle. Unless we forget, it's still under 2 seconds for the race lead right now. Wide again, we're going to see Skir Racing go wide once more. Regan Carty now having to fight on the outside, heading to turn 3. Great tenacity by Zachary Smith, but he's on the curb on the inside. The last place you want to be on dry tyres on a wet circuit. He has to yield, and Micah Dern now thinks about it in the Monskers car.
How are they doing this? There's not even a dry line anymore. Look at the spray from the tyres, if nothing else. But if you can catch a glimpse of the track, they're creating a line in the course. Oh no, did they collect him? No. That was so close for Rouge Racing, just locking up and nearly collecting Skir Racing for Killer Cleo. And that was maybe a heart-racing moment there for them, which is indicating that perhaps they are reaching the end of the utility of those tyres. But this is amazing. I have to give them credit, even if it doesn't work out in the end. They are doing God's work on these tyres, and they are just making them competitive in conditions where they should be possibly 4, 5, 6 seconds off the pace. I don't know how they're keeping temperature in the tires. At the front, that guy Vince still defending. There's still no way past. As I want to point out also, the gap to the lead in the lead pack, 1.2 seconds down from 1.5. Kamikaze has his foot down.
He does, and he knows he needed a couple laps to just get set and go for it. Wide line through Jean de Bienne, then for Rene Cota Sandoval. Big look to the inside against that guy Vince, but that guy taking that wider line in can get a much more drive off the exit. I'm sensing a hint of desperation about how you go and find this pass, and I'm looking around at the lap times being set. 2:19s, I think, are pretty good pace at the moment. The leaders, your top two, are doing 2:17s. Everyone else is doing 2:19s. That guy Vince with that big wide line. We call this the corner of 1,004 lines because there's 1,004 different ways to take Sunset Bend, John, and none of them are ever correct.
I mean, yeah, and crucially for that guy Vince, all of them are defensible positions apparently, and defensible racing lines. I can't quite believe this all up the inside, but again, that guy Vince just braking maybe a meter later, which allows him to just carry a little bit of apex speed, and he still manages to get the car rotated. And when you're the attacking driver, you just can't do anything about it because, again, you go wide, then you lose a car length, as is now just being shown live on our cameras here, and then you have to make that time back on the slipstream. You're not close enough on the next corner. It just keeps on going on and on and on, and as you said before, frustration builds. And I also want to point out, that guy Vince is sort of lapping the same time as Alex Gillen at the moment. So Alex's pace has dropped off as understeer for that guy Vince, but then again, sliding for everybody, it seems.
Yes, that will open the pace. I will just point out, thank you YouTube chat for jumping into play, that it is Pole Sim Racing who lead. It's Pole Sim Racing from Timu that are out there and in control at the moment. So they got 3 in the top 6, and there is the 31 really having to fight there in the braking zone to get the turn and rotation in. That looked like 3 stabs at the brake to get that car to move.
Yeah, I'm surprised. These are the type of conditions where the Audi struggled before, but obviously Kamikaze has found something, or indeed maybe that Mercedes not having the best distribution of either weight or just struggling on the traction at the moment. It looks like it's all right, a little bit understeery, I'd say mid-corner, to be honest. So it'll be an interesting battle for sure, but for Kamikaze, a bit like for Pole Spin Racing, trying to overtake that guy Vince's camera pans just exactly at the right moment. Wow, man, you can get closer to the rear diffuser if you tried. But yeah, it's going to be a difficulty overtaking for both of these battles at the moment. This might be a good run though.
Oh, this might be a stonking run by Rene Cota Sandoval. Pole Spin Racing to the inside, looking for a way through against that guy Vince, who has to let it go on the entry. But this is a crisscross and take the applesauce. Oh, that's brilliant. That guy Vince is styling and profiling.
Can you believe it? I thought he had it done, and then you just see that Ferrari just dart to the inside, get the rotation, and defend once again, this time round the outside. Can he do the switch back the same way? Oh, it's a possibility, but again, that guy Vince gets the traction. It's incredible what he can do with that Ferrari. This is just going on and on and on. The Porsche up the inside, that is a move of, I think, a little bit of desperation once again. But for Pole Spin Racing, they're losing too much time now. Up the inside, this could be the definitive move. That guy Vince around the outside once again gets the traction down, closes, oh, can't close the door. So they are side by side. The side draft coming into effect now will help the Porsche down to hairpin turn. Can they do anything about it? That guy Vince will have the defensive position. Wheel banging a little bit as the Porsche decides to be a little bit aggressive. That guy Vince across the curb. He will have the better racing line though. Can the Porsche do anything about it? Yes, he gets the door slammed tightly shut. And that is finally Pole Spin Racing up to P4 after laps of trying.
It shows you how tenacious you have to be against that guy Vince. He's going to defend every single corner, and he knows exactly where he needs to brake, and is doing a wonderful job. Reagan Carty, Zachary Smith there, Micah Dern for the Monskers team. Pole Sim Racing Blue are about to join the party too. So there is still many different teams. Oh, and straight off, Rene Cota Sandoval runs off the circuit, and the Mexican driver now has more dramas to think about, because Now, you look at that, 2 places gone, and that guy Vince has got a very comfy set of shoes on. That's 4th position, and that guy Vince in 4th is one of the toughest characters in the world to get by.
After exclaiming that, I had to leave the commentary to you because I had just my head in my hands for a second. They did all of that work to get up to P4, and in the blink of an eye, they
in
just
comes
get in a
PSR. Race leaders in the pit. That's huge, and that's right on the hour mark.
Yeah, I mean, they might struggle to get to the end.
They're going to have to put dries on.
Yeah, in this condition? I mean, looking what happened to Roos Racing, it is possible, but you will be losing time. It's not the optimal strategy, and that rain continues to fall. This is a 50-50, surely.
Well, William Rasmussen will get in behind the wheel, and critically, they're going to have to put dries on, and the rain is just about to stop. So this is now the critical juncture of this race. PSR from Timu have come in, they've had to make that stop, and the question will be, is it dries or is it wets? It looks like it's still wet tyres on at this stop, and that is going to be huge as they go, because they're going to have to hold wet tyres from now to the end of this race. Yeah, they can't afford to put dry tyres on the car if they're doing a driver swap. You do not want a driver coming out of the pit lane on the wrong tyres if they haven't experienced these conditions in the last few laps. You can't take that risk. They will be off within a couple of corners. We've seen that so many times in endurance racings. You have to be cautious when you're swapping drivers. You don't want any characteristics to change if you can help it. And so it's become actually a regular strategy to put a driver out on a worn set of tyres so that they're already sort of up to temperature, actually, so that their first stint isn't on like a drastic change for the car. But obviously, you know, in the world of sim racing, you do whatever you feel comfortable with, and hopefully they'll be having extreme pace and they can get back up to the top. But they're a bit short on fuel as well, as far as I can tell. Yeah, so for the moment, the Nomad team have Matthew right behind the wheel, trying to get by Sparks right now in 13th position right at this stage. But I do need to note at Cunningham Corner that there was a pass between Ska Racing for Killer Cleo and Pole Spin Racing, where Pole Spin Racing, number 44 car, came from about 4 car lengths back and made the pass. So, yeah, sometimes if you have the confidence, you can just go for outrageous manoeuvres in these type of conditions. And I think the BMW really struggling there, to be honest. But Nomad are all over the back of Team Spice at the moment. And you know, we will try apparently and get a replay of the pass. Let's see. And yeah, it's here
on board. So yeah, take us through it.
Runs a little bit wide and then has to commit to the brakes. Late. Can't get it stopped. It's a huge dive bomb, but critically gets it slowed up on the exit, and you don't often find that. So it was a wonderful pass that got it sorted. And as we say that guy Vince's rear has completely exploded through turn 1 with a massive accident. Look at this here, just completely loses it.
No,
Bang!
Oh yeah, that is major damage. Yeah, just I think aquaplaning or hitting the brakes too aggressively. You get rotated. That's his rear wing that is lost, so that's a complete loss. Yeah, I think just hitting the brakes, getting a little bit of a slide, there goes everything. And I think he's going to have to go and tow that. Oh no, he manages to get it moving, but that rear tyre is not moving whatsoever.
No, he did have to take the tow in the end, so he's in the pits waiting for the tow time first, and then to get it sorted. And here for the SR is in the wall, and in the wall heavy as well. So the 999 car, which has been struggling ever since they've changed drivers, that's at Tower Corner, and they have just completely thrown that one in the wall. You can see it here, just couldn't get the turning, couldn't scrub the speed, and into the tyre bundle.
Ouch, ouch, ouch. And again,
was that the leader as well, who nearly went as well? Camimore went off at the same corner. There you go. That was the leader.
Wow, that could have gone so bad. They managed to get it stopped. I think Cammy just deploying some WRC strategies there to try and keep it out of the wall. Looked like he was fully sideways. So that will be just glee in the eyes of Alex Gillen. He now has a visual on the leader once again, and he can start to chase him down as Cammy's, I think, just confidence will be down the drain at the moment. He takes a few laps to get back up to speed. But yeah, I mean, the conditions are tricky. The pace is still lapping as if we're in intermediate conditions, so you're pushing the pace a lot harder, you're carrying a lot more speed into the corners, but there's still these puddles of water, as you can see, and that's what's catching the drivers out. I still can't believe that overtake we saw from at least 4 car lengths back. How they got that stopped was just absolutely incredible.
Taking a look then with Els Indriani out there in her next level racing seat and really trying to work hard through the corners. And you notice their third finger to try and flick through, and the style of racing there was very dainty, very much a case of putting through. That's what we call a karting style of holding the steering wheel.
Yeah, in these conditions as well, you don't want to hold the wheel too tight because you want to feel the force feedback, which is a bit lighter in wet weather conditions. So you kind of want to just be holding the wheel just to hold to feel the force feedback, the snaps of oversteer, etc. But you want to more just, well, yeah, it doesn't work all the time, but you want to just work with that force feedback to feel how much grip you've got and then how much turning you want. If you hold the wheel tight, you overpower the feedback, and then that just means you either understeer or oversteer because you're being too aggressive.
Yeah, so loses a place to the Taco squad, and that's how quickly you can see all those places fall into troubles. There is Pole Spin Racing number 44, René Cote Sandoval. For those who are here for the first time and don't quite understand how these teams work, anybody who's part of this community section right now of this community showcase are in the creator series colors out there at this point. Any creator has their own livery out there. It's the way you can tell between creators and non-creators, teams and non-teams, and at the moment it is community right now who find themselves 8th, 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th and 3rd. Your top 2 right now, the team of Kamikaze and Ryan L83 and the solo team of Alex Gillen are currently 1 and 2 in this race. The community are trying to hunt this down at 10 seconds off the race lead.
I mean, yeah, the different strategies in this one is just crazy. What a crazy race, and we've still got nearly an hour's worth of racing left, as we may see another overtake here. Monsker is looking to go through on Pole Sim Racing. If I am getting that correct, will they do the switch back? Can that Porsche get the grip? The Porsche has been struggling through this turn, and once again, you can see that McLaren just able to maintain the speed, although they managed to get a lovely exit speed, and I think they're alongside already. This is going to be last of the late breakers style. Who can get it turned in? Who can, crucially, not get the snap oversteer on entry? That McLaren looking a little bit twitchy. The Mercedes in the background looking to scoop up anybody who fails at that, and it's still maintaining the position. So, yeah, this battle will carry on. But, yeah, for Alex Gillen, just to briefly talk a bit more about that, I think it's just the case of he's been in that car now through changeable conditions. He's got a measure of the grip, and he's using it to just great effect at the moment.
And they are trying to follow a dry line because the rain has stopped for a little while, and that dry line is on the inside. Close goes Reagan Carty here for the Ska Racing for Killer Cleo. So this is the community effort from Killer Cleo's community. You've got there one of the Pole Sim Racing community cars there, the 44 Pole Spin Racing, just in front. Behind that is Rouge Racing, who, remember, is on a dry tyre and will only get quicker as this goes on. When the heat goes into the tyre, where the dry line forms and you try and avoid all of the puddles on the circuit, I think Rouge Racing are in a really good position, but they've survived well to keep themselves in that top 5. Encephalosis' team now find themselves in the pits for their final stop of the race. A big kicker tail from Zachary Smith off the exit, and now it's turned from a group of 6 into 2 groups of 3.
I just don't get how Rouge Racing are doing this. It's still wet weather conditions, and they're still out there on the same set of dry tyres. Yeah, there's no way they should be able to do this, and yet here we are. We're watching them fight for 5th place, and they're just doing the job that they need to. But you know, they're at the back of this pack. They're just waiting for others to make a mistake. They can't really go off the racing line at this point because they are on the wrong tyres for these conditions. So they have to just be patient And as you can see, the wet weather runners are taking a little bit more apex speed, but they are at risk of burning up the tires, to be honest. So we could see a situation where as the track dries out, they're having to maybe go over the puddles just to cool the tires a little bit. As you can see, also Roos Racing just going over the puddles as well. So yeah, it's unfathomable.
So this looks like encephalosis straight out of the pits. This is always the most embarrassing place to have an accident then. So you get right up to speed, trying to put the power down, cold tyres, right onto circuit. Okay, goes through the opening section, no drama at all. Right, we're going to get through turn 2. Okay, no dramas. Turn 3, this is right in front of your leaders, by the way. And through turn 3, looks like we survived. Turn 4, dealing with the puddles, that's fine. Turn 5, let's try here. Is it going to be on the exit? No, it looks like that's still okay. So encephalosis then would have had dramas out there, but it looks like managed to deal with okay in front of your overall race leader, and in fact let them through. So I think we just caught the end of them coming out of the pits.
Yeah, but it's interesting to see actually how much they were struggling out of the pits, just remaining stationary just for the time to put fuel in the car. The tires cool down, and then you're tiptoeing for the first couple of corners while waiting for those tires, or waiting for you to just feel the grip of the car. One car not having any problems with the grip is car 22, that Mustang of iRacing for Killer Clio, just all over the back of the Porsche of Pulsepin Racing at the moment. And it looks like we're going to have a replay of the crash of here for the SR. SR won't be improved by that, and they're going to have to wait to rejoin. So just a spin, I think, just getting a little bit too aggressive on the brakes, and then the car just kicking out.
It's so easily done, and they've been struggling on this second and third stint so much, down to just 48 minutes and a half left of racing. Final pit stops will probably be due at the half-hour stage, or when the track becomes lightly or very lightly wet. I would suggest drivers will think about making that switch over to dry tyres, and that's going to be another thing that they look at here. If this track stays moderately wet, they're going to be looking at, do we stay on wets to the end of the race? Does somebody take a gamble in the pit stop and put dry tyres on when they have to make their last stop? This is all calculation they have to be doing on the fly. It's very tough, and speaking of things that are very tough, we got the Monsters car then, the 55, into the pits from 7th position, and now this will be a great indicator of whether it's going to be wet or dry. Who's going to make a gamble?
Yeah, I mean, a lot depends on the weather report as of current, because it's very sort of intermediate. It's all missed the box as well. That'll add a bit of stationary time there. So I think at this point, if there's no rain, you have to go for a set of dries. You have to try. If you're not in the top 5, you've got not much to lose. You may as well take the gamble. And looking at Roos Racing's pace, they are still on the back of this fight. They haven't really lost anything. I just want to point out that Pulsepin Racing is actually lapping faster than the leaders at the moment. And so they are actually closing in on the leaders relentlessly by about half a second a lap at the moment. They've got a long way to go, about a gap of 10 seconds to Kamikaze in first place. But with basically 45 minutes of racing left, that's a lot of time to be losing 5/10 of a second lap.
Yeah, you don't want to be losing that time. By the way, the Team Spite have come into the pit from dry tyres and they've gone on to wet. So if that doesn't tell you where the mentality is, I don't quite know where that mentality is. Hayden Gullis in a scrap right now, down in 19th and 20th, battling with Sophia Connell, who has gone in behind the wheel, has the Irish lady out there at this moment, taking over from Taylor Mills. And so now you've got Punju back in for the Pun crew, who has just come out of the pits behind this group. And now Sophia having to defend, middle of the road. Hayden's looking, and just about gets out of it before running into the back.
Very close. I'm sure he would have been panicking on the brakes there, as you can still see quite a bit of spray still coming off the cars. But
leader's in.
And the leader, yeah, as you can see on there on the graphics, in the pits. Hopefully doesn't miss the pit boxes. Alex Gillen as well in behind him, as you can see. So this is a straight fight in the pit lane between the pit crews. And do they change tyres? What do they do? All question marks. There's a load of people in the pits. Roos Racing in as well. Do they carry on the dries?
Well, this is the big thing. You're looking at, is the dries the right tyre? A, and B, everyone's hitting the limit because of where they made those stops. Pole Spin Racing 44 make a driver change out there, so Kyle McGuinness gets back in behind the wheel. It's looking like wet tyres for practically everyone out there. They've decided it's not going to stay in where we need. Everyone has gone to the wet compound of tyres, so someone's gonna have to stick their neck up above the parapet and say that's what I'm going to do, but everyone isn't willing to risk at this moment. Off and away goes Kamikaze, followed by Alex Gillen, who's lost about 6 seconds in the stop.
I think everybody's looked at what Rouge Racing has been doing and has just said, I can't do that. So they've abandoned the idea.
They've gone to a wet.
They've gone to a wet, yes, indeed, yes. They changed to the wet tyres as well. So I think it's just the general consensus, although they've been doing a splendid job on the dry tyres, that they might be considerably faster in the wet. So we're about to see. If we start seeing overtakes from Rouge Racing left, right and centre, we'll know that they might be challenging for race victory still.
Well, that would be the case, and the big key is it would be the case if they are on dry tyres. They've moved to a wet tyre, so now that isn't the case. Everybody is out there on a wet tyre, and now it's just a case of who makes the right call, who can stay out long enough. In comes 2 Bandit 2 Collective, which is the team of Aerotech and El Zindriani. El Zindriani into the pit. The Pun Crew White now looking to try and find a way past, believe it or not, the Pun Crew. So it's trying to get past the OG team. Now, this is a really tough situation if you're a creator, to be passed by your own creator fans who are there as part of your community to move on through. There's a little bit of pride at stake at this.
I'd be throwing a multi-21 in the mix right there over the team radio, that's for sure. You do not want to be overtaken by, I don't want to say the B team, but by the creator supporter team, let's say. So yeah, for sure, that's a little bit of a question mark over what's going to go there. One thing you don't want to do is have a collision, so that's for sure. They're both in the same car, same characteristics, and it looks like at the moment that the Pun Crew car is struggling a little bit more on its tyres as we still have this battle, and we've still got more car in the pits. Pole Sim Racing trying to defend from Monskers, and it looks like that Monskers car is just up on grip at the moment. Look at the tight lines they're able to take to get the exit. This is looking like a very difficult defensible position.
Yeah.
Apart from if you're that guy Vince.
Well, that's for the end of the race that this battle that we just had on screen is going to be, as there goes through Team Nick Packing Design, now up into 7th position as the Paddock Racing team hit the pit, and it looks like they will move back to Brian Martin in behind the wheel. Alex Gillen currently 7.7 seconds back of this car, because the Camimore team of Ryan Littlemore and Kamikaze, who's behind the wheel, has just gone through on Packing Designs. And now look at this just in front. This is Nomad 561 here, Matthew Wright, who gets a huge slide through the middle of the corner with no power down, trying to get past Pole Sim Racing from Timu, who, remember, pitted with an hour to go and find themselves in control of this race over Camimore. So they are your net leaders right now by about 6 to 7 seconds. But my worry with that team is, will they have enough fuel?
Yeah, I was about to say they're going to have to lift and coast for that one, but you can't do that while you're trying to defend a position all the way over the grass there as well. Not the ideal racing line. Just want to point out as well, by my calculations, Alex Gillen has lost 6 seconds to Kamikaze, so I'm not exactly sure.
Oh, they're on dries! Oh my word, they're on dries!
Yes, they are. Wow, okay.
Well, that will do that then. No wonder they're ahead. They're the only team to think that dry tyres is going to be the way forward. They have made a huge... Bye! Bye. There you go. A huge moment there for Matthew Wright, having a huge off. Thankfully, there is a whole parking lot there on the outside, very similar to MetLife Stadium, if you've ever been there, for Matthew Wright to try and work his way back onto circuit.
Well, I was expecting the car on the dry tyres to have a mistake, not the car on the wet weather tyres, but there you go, sometimes it happens. I think, I'm not exactly sure what happened, yeah, just over the curb, and I guess the traction control didn't deploy in time to save him, and just the rear of the car sliding, and once you're in the slide, there's not much you can do about it. Thankfully, you can rejoin, nearly rejoining into the path of the McLaren there, but yeah, this is spicy. must have been a timing update. Yeah, you could hear it. The engine spun up. Didn't realize we were getting a replay of the Nomad car, but the engine just spun up, indicating you
Well,
lost
we've got to go
traction.
see it.
And there you go. No, we just
they're
saw it
losing
there.
2 seconds a lap here, John. This is big. William Rasmussen is losing 2 seconds a lap to Kamikaze. And Kamikaze here, who's on those wet tyres, remember this track is now lightly wet, so we're now moving to the crossover, but Kamikaze is up to speed. Look at them on the brakes, how much easier they can slow it in. That's too deep.
Yeah.
That's going to be through. Kamikaze takes the place.
Oh, impressive. Not much they could do. I think it's just too damp. But it just puts into perspective the incredible stints that Roos Racing did earlier on in the race. The fact they were able to keep that car on track with basically no huge mistakes whatsoever. You can see, as soon as you're off that racing line, it's all over. And I think we're about to see a crash, or was this the lockup? Here. Oh, it's all the way over and all the way round again, just on the apex. Not enough grip, and around you go. Don't rejoin. Oy, oy, oy. That was that guy Vince going past, and that could have been a big one.
I think that was Sophia Connell who may have got caught up with that, and that could have been really, really difficult. In comes Ska Racing for Killer Cleo. This is a big, big moment in the race. Will they decide to move to dry tyres? Because I think you kind of have to now at this point. The track's at a state where you might lose a little bit of time now, but you will gain it back over as this circuit looks to continue on. So in comes second, IGL Coatings and Sanders Traffic School as well. So Alexander Toftum Scarrett is also into the pits. Team Zufner are also in the pits as well from third position. So this should be the big change. It will be race lead for Kamikaze and Team Camimore at this moment in time. The question though is who makes a bold call. It looks like wets at the moment for everybody else except for Pole Sim Racing from Timu, who are now able to hold behind at this stage. What an incredible finish to this race we are about to get at this moment, because I'm looking around and saying, who is going to stand up? Alex Gillen's going to be up to third, but what work by Ska Racing from Killer Cleo. They're going to come out in 5th place behind Carl McGuinness here, with Marcus Hagman now behind the wheel.
Yeah, the question I have, I don't have access to the weather report page at the moment, but is there any more rain? Because it's literally dry on most, or like 3/4 of the track right now. And yeah, it's looking like it won't rain, at least for the time being. So I think definitely PSR from Timu is looking and sort of thinking, yeah, I'm in a great place for this one. As long as they can keep temperature in the tires, they've got to be a bit just careful in the braking zones, because as you can see, there's a few puddles. If you run deep, you're going all the way off track. So you've just got to keep your car alive at the moment, and the race will come to you at the moment. They're losing about, I'd say, 3 or 4 tenths of a second a lap at the moment.
Well, it looks like we're going to see something that's not gone well. This is coming out the pit. So there's the 561 team of Nomad. This would have been right behind them. That's straight out the pit. They've gone onto dry tyres coming out at the pits. They've tried to put the pace on, and Matthew Wright has just completely lost it and spun it round.
That looked like a crash from Initial D when you're not the main character. Just completely just flying all the way around. And it looks like we're getting another replay of just a brief off-track moment, just running along the grass for Nomad. So that was the car that we were on board with, that was just trying to avoid the crash at turn 1 there. And it looks like they're going all the way. They're doing lawnmower simulator here. I'm not sure that's a good use for McLaren.
I think they're just trying to stay out of the way. They've got a black flag penalty next to their name for an unsafe pit exit. So there's nothing they can do except just try and trundle it around. As they go, though, this is a little bit further back that they were. And now as it goes for your race leaders, 1 and 2, they continue to stay. This is a really important moment of the race. There's the 33 car, Team Nick Packin Designs, with Nick Packin behind the wheel. Hayden Gullis trying to work a way around with that guy Vint and the punker as well. It's the Creator Series faithful all in a row.
Yeah, this is for position 1, right? This is the move for the lead. What we like to believe. Well, oh dear me, that's the bunker round, isn't it? And oh, don't rejoin there. Unfortunate, I think, on the grass or on the curb and just putting the power down, as we might see a 3 wide briefly. Hayden Gullis getting challenged by that guy Vince. Is that in the background? As it looks like whoa, Hayden's gone really deep there. Hayden's not found the traction through there, and he's lost the position.
Yeah, so Hayden Gullis will drop one, and that will mean that guy Vince will move on up. So that guy Vince is 25th and 1 lap down, so he's just being a nuisance in the middle of this. Hayden Gullis is 15th position, Nick Packing Design 14th. You've got Nadia Elhop Racing, that is Aidan Pole's team out there with Joey Latresciano behind the wheel, trying to get by Evan Mackay. This would be for 8th position against the Pole Sim Racing blue team. So this is main team trying to work through Frangio, picks up a pocket or two down the inside. Please, sir, can I have a pass?
Yeah, that was just another world in terms of overtakes. Just managed to find the traction, made it look so easy, and they are visibly just clearing off into the distance. Nothing more to be had. Really interesting to see that the track isn't really drying that much, to be honest. I think the cloudy weather just preventing any sort of evaporation on track. So where the cars are going through, it's dry, but if you go offline, look at this, for example, in the third sector here. If you go offline, you're onto the wet weather again, which, for example, for P2 of this race at the moment, if you want to do an overtake, that's a significant problem for you. You might have to pace, but you can't get the overtake done. Look, throughout all of this straight, the only dry part is the racing line, and I think we have cars now going onto the wet patch to cool off the tyres.
I think we do, and here's the other thing that has to be remembered. We've been running this race for 2.5 hours. In-sim time is 22 minutes past 6, so we're in evening conditions now here, John. That sun's not as strong.
Yeah, indeed, and that will mean that just this sort of intermediate weather just drags out as the sun isn't there to evaporate, as we said, and it also means that lighting conditions are a bit more difficult, because spotting puddles, if the light reflects on it, fine, but if it's just those sort of dull conditions, you might not see the puddle that you're braking on, and you might just slide off the course as well. So very, very tricky conditions for drivers. And indeed, you've got the distraction of the headlights as well behind you, as most drivers will be switching on their lights now to have that extra visibility, both for their safety and indeed for spotting the racing line.
Yeah, so that is going to be critical as they go, and knowing that this track needs to just dry up a little bit more for Pole Sim Racing from Timu, as there's a little think of Micah Dern then for the Monsters, not going to be close enough to Evan Mackay at Pole Sim Racing Blue at the moment. Hayden Gullis down into the pits then for a pit stop, and there's a little look then at that. And for Hayden, that's a case of get up on the jacks and hope that this is one final stop that works out in favour.
Yeah, I'm getting reports that might be for dry tyres. Also want to say, how much regret is there for Ruse Racing not staying out on those dry tyres, or at least not changing those dry tyres for a set of wets? I mean, looking at the track conditions, it's looking suitably drier out there. Although the spray is still quite consequential at the moment, it will be getting drier as we go along. As you can see, the pace has increased as well, 2:12. So we were about 2:20 when it was full wet conditions. The optimal dry lap times are around 2:01 in this race. So we're about halfway to dry conditions at this point.
This is really tough as well, because being on those dry tyres on a wet track, just imagine how much sliding those dry tyres would have done, how cold they are, and actually how scrubbed they are.
Yeah, well, if you don't overheat the tyres, it doesn't really matter that they're scrubbing, because the dry tyres are a harder compound than the wet, as Kamikaze, you can see, struggling with the wheel, just having to do multiple flicks of oversteer correction. Now, that won't bother him. He's a rally driver, so he doesn't really care about the oversteer. He can manage that, but it's the indication that gives us about the tyres. Let's look at him into the braking zone. It's the turn in smooth, but as you can see there, yeah, he went deep and he just couldn't get the turn in. So the front tyre's struggling again on that Audi in these changeover conditions. That car has not been the fastest, and PSR from Timu is right there, 1.2 seconds. So I think, going back to your point, The dry tires are harder compound,
Gillen's
so they
off.
will last. Yeah, Alex Gillen, 13 seconds back now. I wonder if we can get a replay of that, but something dramatic has happened. They were about 5 seconds off, if I remember last time I checked.
Yeah, he's just overcooked it. Hotel hairpin, he's got a little bit on the wet stuff, and he's gone straight on. It looks like nothing as he's gone on through, but it's now completely opened the door for the last spot on the podium, and that pole spin racing number 44 right now is on a dry tyre as well, by the looks of it. So it might be that we're only getting the information in dribs and drabs on who's on what, but the 44 is on a dry tyre. Alex Gillen has run off the road, and suddenly there is car number 44 in full display, trying to get closer. Gap at the front now, 0.6 of a second here, and suddenly first and third are on.
Yeah, they're in trouble. Anybody on wet weather tires, look at the spray now, even more reduced. So, yeah, car 44, I think they'll go for the overtake right here. They want to put Alex Gillen under pressure right from the get-go, so he makes another mistake. Those tires obviously overheating, I think, a little bit. And the worst thing for Alex is, because he's under pressure, he can't necessarily dart to the wet patches on the track to cool the tires down, so he has to take the defensive line, which means that he has to be more aggressive on the tires, overheats them more, etc, etc. It's a vicious circle of overheating for those tires. But yeah, for the dry tires, as long as you can keep temperature in them, even if you are aggressive on them, in fact, it might even be a better to be aggressive in these conditions on the tires to keep the temperature in them. So it's a very difficult driving style to master on a knife edge, literally, with the damp conditions. But if you can make it work, well, it can be an advantage.
Let's look at the Punkaroo White here, off the exit, going through the opening corner. Is this going to be a nice, easy rejoin onto circuit, or is the back going to start stepping out here? So trying to stay out of trouble on the outside, rejoins onto track behind the leading duo, and that looks pretty simple from my book. So not much really to say about that from car number 19 at the moment. But look at your leaders now, because they are all over the top of each other. William Rasmussen wants a way through on Kamikaze here. This is a case of community versus creator. What a lunge down the inside at Tower Corner. They will now battle wing mirror to wing mirror along this run. It's Audi versus Mercedes as they run on the flying Fortress straight. Heavy over the curb will go Kamikaze, desperate to hold Jean de Bien. It is PSR who will have that position. What a pass by William Rasmussen.
Oh, that was sketchy. Look at the oversteers. They're forced to go a little bit offline, and I think that Kamikaze won't have the chance to get a switchback maneuver here. Just judging that grip level to perfection. They saw where they had an advantage in terms of pace in that end of the middle sector, and they just went for it, and it worked a treat. I think Kamikaze had no tires to defend with. As look, he's putting it in deep. He manages to make the apex, though. I just think confidence on those dry compound tires, just giving him the extra bit of turning, as we are about to see a replay here, hopefully not of a crash for Taco Shop Racing. That's a weird one. Wonder what happened there. They just lost all turning ability and straight into the barrier.
That's either A, a lockup, or B, the wheel disconnected. It's one of the two, and it can't be both. So that is a really tough thing to deal with for the Taco Shop Racing team and El Taco Man out there. That is a car trying to stay well off the side of the road there. That was Cleo Wood then for Screw Squad Racing. So that, of course, being Killer Cleo. So that now brings in a case of you need traffic here, I would say. If you are Kamikaze in this position, you need as many cars in between you and success, because you need a pick to try and get yourself back up ahead. This is the key. Find cars in the way, because it's advisory, not mandatory. It is a responsibility of them to get by Els Indriani. And look at this on the brakes, how close it gets as they shuffle into Cunningham Corner.
I think that was actually panic braking from Kamikaze, because the Mercedes broke so early in front of him. So he was kind of forced to stand on the brakes, and then they both relinquished the brakes a little bit into the corner. Bit of a weird one there, but yeah, definitely the Mercedes still struggling in certain sections for the grip. But you can see in sector 3, it just pull away. You can see the line is 90% dry now.
Caution! Oh, that's going to change everything. And the field is going to bring itself back together again. We're hearing it's a word from the biggest Michael Massey in the world, Gareth Allen. I'm going to call him out right now. And this is going to bring the entire field together for one final throw. And that might just throw everyone on dries.
Yeah, we didn't notice it before, but we found a Nicholas Latifi in the last vector, so we had to throw a caution there. So everybody into, well, I think anybody that isn't on dry tires will be darting into the pits. I expect to see Kamikaze in the pit lane right now. I expect to see Alex Gillen in the pits, and it looks like even the leader, everybody stays out. Okay, I take that back. I was really expecting everybody to be in the pits, but I guess they're locked in on their strategy now.
Well, track position, I think, is the most important thing out of what they are dealing with. So this now becomes a case of who wants to jump in, who feels like they can. And I think this is going to be really tough because remember, if you're coming into the pits, you're not going to get time to get the tyres on a wet track up to temperature if they're dry. They are going to cool so quickly.
Yeah, for sure. You want to maintain track temperature, although behind the safety car it's going to be so tricky to do that. You've got to be weaving all the time. You know, for the... Oh, I thought we were going to have an incident there, but safety car thankfully can not get involved in incidents here. But yeah, I think for the dry tire runners, they've got more of a problem with keeping tire temperature. The wet tire compound is softer, so all you have to do is a bit of weaving, and it should maintain temperature.
2 hours, 36 minutes worth of racing. And it is going to be probably a 15-minute sprint that they are going to now jump into. This is a very tough scenario now to throw themselves in. After all this racing, what more can you do? There's a game of chicken being played right now between William Rasmussen and the safety car. How many times can you go through the ethereal safety car? He is desperate to try and run away, and he is at risk here of getting himself a penalty for passing the safety car too many times and leaving a massive gap. So he's got to be very alert that he doesn't do that too much, because if he does, he is going to be in an absolute world of hurt right now as far as this race will go. So keep an eye out on him doing that too much, because that could change the complexity late, and I don't think the stewards should do anything to stop any penalties that come from that. You've got to stay behind the safety car, otherwise you are going to be causing dramas for everybody else. So you look around, Gillen's team in third, Polespin Racing 44 fourth, IGL Coatings and Sanders Traffic Skull, they find themselves in fifth. Ruse Racing have themselves G3 Argyros then in sixth position. Skr Racing for Killer Cleo have a chance. Marcus Hagman in seventh. Evan Mackay in eighth, or what will be the fourth of the pole sim racing cars that find themselves then in, the third in position, because you've got Monskers in ninth, and then the Nadia Elhop racing team, they're in 10th, and now it's going to be about the wave around. So they're all going to run themselves through, and we expect all these cars to unlap themselves who are a lap down or more. So that will be from 18th place all the way back down to whoever's running about 27th will find themselves there. But now it's about decisions. Who makes a decision now?
Wow, I mean, you've just got to see what you can do. I mean, drivers that are confident will be just trying to maintain their current position, strategy and whatnot, but you know, for anybody that's lacking in confidence, that will make you second guess what you're doing until the end of the race. I mean, this safety car is making it slightly easier, I'd say, for everybody, because it's sort of neutralizing that changeover position.
Oh, what a call!
Drivers go into the pits. I think I did. Kamikaze in the pits. Yeah, I just briefly glimpsed them there as the safety car obviously continues round, but I think this is for pitting for dry tires.
Well, next to nobody has come in with them. So
yeah.
Either our graphics are wrong, or there's only a couple of drivers who need dry tyres right now, or those who are going to try and stay on a wet tyre. What a big decision that is going to be, as you've got Skr Racing for Killer Cleo in the pit and Camimore. So they're going to keep Kamikaze in the car. They are going to keep Marcus Hagman in the car. They just want tyres. Taylor Mills Racing deciding, Pun Crew deciding they want to get in on fresh tyres. And fresh tyres actually might make a pretty big difference if they've got 20, 30, you know, got 20, 30 minutes of tyre life to work with compared to the others who are out there on old tyres.
Yeah, a lot of drivers will be saying, you know, in the midfield, well, box if, for example, if Kamikaze boxes, because we're on the same strategy. So if he decides to pit, you pit as well, presumably for dry tyres. And that is, as I can confirm, they are all on dry tyres. But you can see with the tyres not up to temperature, they're really struggling just to get traction out of the first few turns. So also keeping the car alive under the safety car period, very important. So Kamikaze comes out in P11, so quite a few cars to overtake. But on dry tyres, it should be possible. I think it's just a case of confidence, as I was going to say as well. Some drivers lacking a little bit of confidence, as that is car 999 just taking a skip over the curbs. So that's here for the safety rating. But yeah, it's if you don't have the confidence, you stay out on the wet tyres. You know, it's 20 minutes remaining. The track won't be 100% dry in 20 minutes. So you've kind of just got to survive.
And survival is the key. And remember, we saw how on the safety car earlier, how difficult it was. Alex Gillen, your biggest gainer, 29 places from 31st of 34 starters to be second right now with an opportunity. Yes, on wet tyres, but with an opportunity. But you look around as well, 33 of Team Nick Packing Design. It's Nick Packing who's gained 17 spots over the course of racing. Evan Mackay, the 14, Polsim Racing Blue, also up 15 places. There are gainers everywhere you look.
Yeah, indeed. If you've gone for the correct strategy, you'll gain a lot of positions, as you said. And, you know, that's just, I will say, a little bit of luck, you know. So you can't predict when the weather is going to change. And you just have to sort of roll the dice. If you're in the midfield, you roll the dice. And the worst case scenario, you might lose a few positions. But, you know, it's all about also this restart. You know, you can be on the correct strategy, but if you haven't got your tyres warmed up for the restart, if you're not confident, then you will end up slipping back. So we'll see. There's a lot of question marks and not a lot of answers at the moment.
I would still say there are drivers and teams with a chance as they look to sort out what they do with the final few laps worth of racing. If they go around, they've got about 15 minutes left. I would argue they've got about 7 laps worth of racing, 6 or 7 laps of racing left underneath them. This is going to be a battle not just about getting around, but when the clock strikes 0.
Yeah, for sure. And those that are on the wet weather tyres are hoping to do the minimal amount of distance possible. And those that are on the dry compound tyres hope that it goes an extra lap, as they say. So, yeah, more drivers hopping into pits. I think that's for a penalty, though.
Oh, it's a penalty. That's
is.
a penalty
What
for Aidan Pohl going down into the pits. So that is massive, absolutely massive from Aidan Pohl. Flags are cleared. We'll be able to get back out and going again. Taylor Mills also down in the pits in the number 41. They're going to change back to her in the car then. So there are changes being made and decisions, and the lights off on the safety car means that they will be going green, hopefully for the last time with one final time. I think this is a scenario, and we see it a lot here in Creator Series, where if you're inside the final X amount of time, that's it, gloves off, knuckle dusters on. It's pretty much a free-for-all to the end.
I mean, I might be seeing things, but Taylor Mills' car switched from dries to wet. I'm not sure if that's a mistake from them, but I saw the tyre flip to the wet weather symbol, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. I don't think that's the correct choice, but you know, sometimes in the heat of the moment you forget to change what strategy you're going on to, and maybe even a driver swap. Yeah, it can be very difficult to get everything right. So I'm hoping that's just an overlay issue that we have there. But you never know. Sometimes a driver confidence goes through the floor and you're forced to pit them back onto a safe set of tyres.
John, I'm going to ask you this question. I'm going to ask you this from a complete level of honesty. Out of this entire field, who would you want to be on this restart?
That's a big question. Well, if I'm talking about winning the race, you want to be PSR from Temu. You've got Alex Gillen behind you on the set of wet weather tires. They're going to be a sort of cork in the bottle for everybody behind you. However, in terms of entertainment, I want to be Kamikaze in 10th place because I want to be overtaking people. I want to have a race for it, and it's going to be very entertaining for him, barring any incidents. So, 2 answers based on what you prioritize.
I look around at the way that William Rasmussen has been running around this circuit, nonchalantly cutting every corner under this safety car, passing the safety car, and just saying, I'm bored, let's race some more. It's not going to be doing any good for the tyres, and that's the one thing that I'm looking at. Dry tyres, and clatters the curb there, going by at an awkward angle there. You don't often get to see that, so that would have given a little bit of a shake going through that section, just catching the curb wrong. And William Rasmussen here at Pole Sim Racing from Temu is going to be very much woken up to the fact that you can't just have everything your own way. We'll be under 15 minutes when we get back to green flag running, and it's Alex Gillen who's got to react here off this restart. I look back down the field to the team of Camimore with Kamikaze behind the wheel from P10. They've got to run the gauntlet and run the gauntlet quick. It's 9 passes to get back up to the front on fresh, clear, brilliant dry tyres. BMW M2 safety car is going to move down into pit. Field in control again with William Rasmussen, and the green flag drops and we're back underway. Not a great launch there from Alex Gillen as now they get themselves up to speed. A bit of side-by-side through the middle from about 4th or 5th position as Rouge Racing and IGL Coatings try and scrap for it. Pole Spin Racing can't quite get there. There's going to be contact in the middle of the corner. That's Rouge Racing dumped to the outside in the tyres.
Oh, you can't believe it, can you? They've had such a good race, but it looks like they've rejoined. They got damage on the car, though. I can see the car not exactly going straight. We've got side-by-side Pole Spin Racing has been tagged by Alex Gillen. They're all the way around. They're off the track. They're in the barrier. Oh, wow. They get it stopped before the barrier. Brilliant stuff from them recovering that. But that has dropped them back. Oh, contact as well.
Pole Sim Racing Blue, Evan Mackay with Brian Martin there from the Paddock Racing team. That was a huge moment for B-Roy, trying to deal and around with that. Here comes Pole Spin Racing now trying to come back. Just behind all of that is going to be Kamikaze trying to get into the mixture. All the while, it's about an 8/10 gap out there at the front of the field right now for Pole Sim Racing from Temu against Alex Gillen in 2nd position. The top 2 have walked away, and then it is going to be Alexander Toft and Scarrett in 3rd place. There is Eli trying to get through, and the Pun Crew starts to spin.
Well, at least they tapped them back squarely. Again, at least they've lost, about 6 positions there. That's not ideal. But yeah, just tagged on the apex, and of course you go spinning round because of just the weight balance shifting. But what I'm interested in here is that Alex Gillen is still on the back of this Mercedes, and the gap not exactly increasing as I thought. So I'm not hoping for any damage on that Mercedes, but did that impact with the curb change anything on that car? Did it change the balance? Because
Alex!
Wow, that was a move and a half, wasn't
Alex
it?
Gillen. Oh my goodness. Alex Gillen with the almost slide now opens up the world for IGL Coatings and Sanders Graphics Gold. Tries to go the opposite way to flick through and make that pass. Doesn't work. Not going to get any turn on the outside there, Alex. And that's going to be a case of Micah Dern now bringing in for the Monskers team, who are in 4th position. How on earth has just 1 lap been run? I feel like I've gone through a soap opera.
Yeah, that was an incredible catch, I must say. But look at how much time Kamikaze has lost in the background. That was them just going on to the start-finish straight. Kamikaze looks like he's got the move done on most of the people in that midfield pack, but he's still stuck around 10th place. The overlap between these tires isn't as big as we thought, and the wet weather tires are still okay. We saw a number of drivers just maintaining the cool temperatures, driving offline behind the safety car, and in certain parts of the track, as you can see, there's still spray on the ground getting picked up, the damp track, just making sure those diffusers are collecting all of that water from the tires. And that means that the dry tires can't really get away. Even though Alex made that big mistake there, he's still 1.6 seconds behind, so he hasn't lost anything this lap.
Oh, trying then on the scrap for what is going to be the final spot on the podium. Toftum Scarrick then defends the inside. Here comes Micah Dern trying to work her way through, and you got a nit one and per one here. You got a nit one and per one at the next corner here of Collier, and now you got to try and work yourself up then to the right corner of Tower. On the brakes then through the right, and it's comfy through the middle of the corner for Alexander Toftum Scarrick. I wonder whether because of the pacing that we've seen, John, that the dry tyres are just stone cold.
Yeah, it looks that way as Alex has lost about 0.5 of a second in the second sector here, although the gap is sort of ebbing and flowing, so it's difficult to tell really what's going on. Definitely running onto the infield and onto the grass behind the safety car wouldn't have helped whatsoever. But from what I'm seeing, not many, if any, of the dry compound runners are making any progress whatsoever right now. Kamikaze's still stuck P11 as we've got battles in the midfield there, as this is, I think, is this Taco Shop Racing going for an overtake? No, it's Paddock Racing Team, so B-Roy going for an overtake. Lovely move down the inside, both McLaren, so no advantage to be gained via the car, but he's made it stick on the apex, hasn't he? Just shut that door down on the car behind, and as we got a Porsche Civil War as well. I think it's Pole Spin Racing on Team Zuppner. Team Zuppner defending. Pole Spin Racing gets the overspeed around the outside. Different compounded tyres, and what an overtake. That is supreme confidence on those dry tyres right there.
I think Strasner, who's behind the wheel right now, is just going to be waving a solitary white flag going, there's nothing I can do about that. Great pass. It's now on for second. Look at that gap now, 3.3. Alex Gillen's just got nothing to offer here right now. They have just allowed the opportunity to walk away for William Rasmussen here at this point. And now on the brakes, is this going to be uberly aggressive? It is, it's deep. Now, is there going to be enough squared up on the exit here from Alexander Toftum Scarrick here to get the IGL Coatings and Sunder Traffic Skull team up to second place? That's part of the community of Kamikaze out there, and there's a little think about a move at Cunningham Corner. Remember, Alex Gillen places the car where you just do not like it, and that's what makes him a tricky customer to pass.
I think we've had a crash from Kamikaze and Cameron Moore team. Let's have a look if we can at the replay. I don't think there's a move on Alex right now, so I'm safe to cut to a replay just for a second. Let's have a look. So he's out on his own, and not sure exactly what's happened here. Did he get collected by another car? And yeah, crashed in front. Yeah. So Taco Racing Team has crashed, and Kamikaze's had to put on the anchors as there was no way past whatsoever. And so that has lost him about 5-6 seconds by the time all's said and done. And that's dropped him back again to 12th position. How unfortunate.
We'll take another look here on board as it is hotting up for second, third, fourth and fifth. So there's the spin from El Takaman, and yeah, I'm just going to wait for you and find reverse and get going. There is where they are, but now at Sunset Bend, Alex Gillen still just staving off Toftum Scarrick. You got Micah Dern for Monsters, you got Carl McGuinness at Pole Spin Racing, Nicholas Strasner there, so Strasner's waiting, so too is B-Roy, so too Evan Mackay at Pole Spin Racing Blue. But now it's about, is there an angle to the inside? I just think you've got to be aggressive here with Alex Gillen. The only way you're going to get by him is if you decide, I'm going to bully you out the way, because if you don't do that, he'll just nickel and dime you out of any overtake.
Yeah, this is almost to the level of a trolley train right now. You've got Alex Gillen just parking the bus on the apex. He's allowed to do so after all. And just the fact that the battle for second place lights up half of the timing board at the moment just indicates how strong a defense he is putting up. But at some point the cracks have to show, and Mercedes up the inside, darts to the outside, there's no room. Alex Gillen just doing the defensive, he's allowed to do that. Enough room. And, yeah, the Porsche going wide, but I think multiple cars going wide there, so I think that was Pole Spin Racing Team Zuppner and Paddock Racing Team just getting a little bit deep in the braking zone.
Well, right here, right now, Alex Gillen is in Gandalf mode. You shall not pass him at this moment, and he needs to hold this for, I would say, about 4 laps worth of running to make it work. Out of Collier, over towards now the right of Tower. And this is where Alex Gillen needs to look around, because look at Tofsky. He's pushing him through the exit of the corner. He's desperate to get through. He's got so much mid-speed advantage at the moment on the Ferrari that this is just denial at this moment. Alex Gillen can hold. Gendebien again covered, and they're going to start tripping over each other here. Micah Dern for the Monsters might decide, I've got to get a move on down the inside, because it's clear he can't cut it. He can't find the pass. And again, it's a good drive off of the exit then, on through the Le Mans chicane, onto the Oldham straight, and there is Gillen defending to the inside, all the way in the water to try and cool his tyres. Toftum Scarrett is going to hold himself nicely, but he's going to have to go the long way around on the wetter part of the circuit to make this happen. And you've just got understeer out there. Wonderfully defended again, but watch the drive off the exit to turn 1.
But at this point, Alex Gillen is like that Jigo Kubica meme where the car is like 3 car widths wide, and he's just parking it and making everybody do the difficult work, as he can't even get the switch back. Yes, the Mercedes gets the switch back. This might be crucial. He's alongside. He might be ahead. Indeed, no, Alex Gillen brakes late. He's onto the wet patch, and he's slid wide. I think he's going to concede multiple positions here, as through goes the Mercedes, through goes the Porsche of Pole Spin Racing as well, getting the move done quite consequentially there, and already a car's gap between them. Can Monsters make the same maneuver? I mean, Alex is going to go to the inside, get all of that slipstream. No way, surely not.
It's too deep.
Contact.
It's huge amounts of contact, and that completely chalks up the chain. Then Strasner will move up into 4th position. Micah Dern to 5th. You got B-Roy now in 6th. Kyle McGuinness was 7th, and Evan Mackay 8th. He was there, but you know, you can say he's there, he's alongside, but here's the other question. Is he ever getting that stopped?
Well, I mean, the apex was there somewhere, and he was ahead, to be fair, as the other car had been spun round. So, on the technicality, Alex Gillen is correct. He was ahead at the apex, so there we go. But unfortunately, that won't work all the time, sadly. That was a lucky one, but he's still in podium positions. However, that gaggle of cars behind him will close in.
That guy, Vince, from 9th position, has thrown it in the barriers off the exit of the corner, and it looks like he's had a wheel failure or something. Let's listen in.
Oh, just nothing. Yeah, no pedals. What's gone on
Box
there?
of neutrals.
Yeah.
So that guy Vince is still there and is still going to be causing havoc for anybody who goes through that section of road, but there is still a hand. Oi! That's not going to be helpful in any way, shape or form as you try and go through the hotel section there. That's a spin. I believe the 999 once again getting caught out. Wrong place, wrong time. A podium still to be decided though, as that's going to be a car late into the pits then, as there's your leader, Pole Sim Racing from Timu. Strasner wants to be the creator on the podium here, and Micah Dern will try and hold both of them off. So it's B-Roy, Micah Dern, Strasner, and look, it's so difficult here for Alex Gillen to get this slowed in through the corners. Strasner's just got to be patient, get the drive out of turn 5, and you've got a chance at 7.
He's cooked his tyres, you can see it. They've got no turn-in, they've got no traction. The only time where he's okay is sort of on the apex once he's got it stopped. But the problem is, as a defensive driver, you have to have the braking. And right now, the Porsche can put pressure on you by just moving to the outside. Alex has to be aggressive on the tyres. He goes wide at the apex to get better traction. He defends the line, but this is just using his tyres more and more and more. And there will come a point, like 2 laps ago, where he just has nothing to defend with. And you're just going to run so wide that you just can't get back on track in time. So Alex
this is going to be a big lunge against Strasner. He's going to have to compromise the line here. And Micah Dern is again trying to prove that he's got some worth here. Pole Sim Racing Blue also jump up onto the back of this train, and they are really trying to say, this is what we can do to find placement here. Alex Gillen, well, he's got the weight of the world behind him. It's like watching Spider-Man try and stop a train.
I like that one. That's a good reference. I understand that reference, but also means I'm quite old. So moving on from that, yeah, the Porsches just seem to have the better stability in these conditions. I think that Ferrari's just a bit heavy on its rear tires. And there in the background is Kamikaze. I was going to mention that, so shout out to Gareth for panning to the camera straight away, just as I thought about mentioning it. He's just caught this pack of cars, and he could be fighting for a podium, but he's got next to no time to do anything about it. He's on a different tire, though.
Yep, so that could give him a chance as we now hit the final lap of this race. In control by William Rasmussen for PSR from Timu. On board through the opening corner and trying to make it work. The big race is on in third place right now with Alex Gillen, who is desperately trying to keep Strasner behind, and the likes of Micah Dern and B-Roy, who are all sat there going, no, this is ours, our podium we can get. B-Roy's going to get a run now towards turn number 3. That's for a top 5. As he will look to the inside and try and pick up the pass, and on the outside, nothing can be done. Micah Dern has to yield a lift. Oh, a shot to the back, going through into Strasner, and here comes Kamikaze to the party, straight by Evan Mackay in the Pole Sim Racing Blue Machine. He'll now try and dice his way past Micah Dern, and now he's looking at a top 5, maybe even a podium late on as the tyres finally wise up to it. Side by side, there's no room at the inn. B-Roy's got nothing on the exit, and Kamikaze, he gets walked as he tries to find a way through. This is a tough end to a brilliant sim race of 3 hours in length. And now to the outside of Cunningham Corner. 1, 2, 2. Oh my goodness. Can he get it stopped? No, he'll get just the 1. So B-Roy dispatched off. Got to get by Micah Dern next. That'll be for a top 5. Alex Gillen's holding his station in third as Strasner tries to go for it. Big lunge that goes through. Oh, he's unleashed. Absolutely unleashed. Nobody can stop him right now. Kamikaze is locked in, lads. Chat, he's going for everything he can possibly think of on the final laps of this race. Now onto the backstretch for the final time goes William Rasmussen. PSR from Timu in full control, but it is all about this. Oh, what a lunge down the inside to fourth. Alex Gillen, watch your cotton socks as now the final corner comes. PSR from Timu, they're not made a budget. They are absolutely there. On for third it goes. Your winner is PSR from Timu. Second will be IGL Coatings and Standard Traffic Skull, but sweeping around the outside from 8th to 3rd on the last lap. Oh my goodness, Kamikaze unleashed. That is mental. Absolutely mental.
Zupner's losing a top 5. They're going to be battling. It's Monsters has just lost the drag race for a top 5 right there by 0.04 of a second. They went wide and just couldn't get the traction down, and then it was just a dead heat for the battle between the Porsches, and they just couldn't make it work. But what a recovery drive from Kamikaze for a top 3 finish. Alex Gillen has got to be shaking hands in his head right now. Yeah, what a brave defense, but he just couldn't make it work until the last corner of the lap. And yeah, I think Kamikaze had to be very, very aggressive. And what could he do? As we got, a lot of cars crashing across the finish line. They've decided that 3 hours of racing is enough and not a second more. I don't blame them. It's been a long race. But yeah, Paddock Racing Team not getting the better of the pack, fighting for P2 at the end, P7 for them. Polsim Racing Blue, P8. Team Spites P9, and Punkru gets a top 10 finish as well on those dry tyres after that late pit stop.
I've still got my mouth open about getting 5 places on the last lap. Just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It's like watching Nick Heidfeld in that Belgian Grand Prix in 2008, I think it was, where Hamilton and Raikkonen decided they were going to start switching places. It might have even been 2007. And they decided, you know what, it's raining the last 3 laps, go ham. As there you go. That's as fitting as any way to end the race there as they go through. But oh my goodness, what a race that we have just had as Aiden Pohl decides that's the easy way to get out of the car, and the easy way to deal with racing. Let's get then your official classified results then from the Sebring International Raceway on this community battle that we have had, this community showcase. It was Pole Sim Racing from Timu who pick up the win by a monster 9 seconds, all things considered. IGL Coatings and Sander Traffic Skull will take second place overall with a great drive late from Alexander Toftum Scarrett. And then it is, of course, the community he comes from, Kamikaze's team, Cammy Moore with Ryan Littlemore. What a result from them, jumping up to third from 8th on the final lap. Alex Gillen will be shell-shocked at the way that that's gone about, as he did everything by hook or by crook to hold that podium and still wasn't able to hold, with Strasner, Micah Dawn there in 5th and 6th, so Team Supner and Monskers. Then you got B-Roy in 7th for the Paddock Racing team, Pole Sim Racing Blue in 8th, and then you got Team Spite in 9th with Sparks, and Punju getting a top 10 for the Pun crew for a car that has been battered about and looked like it has been modified pretty much all day. That is a huge result for them. The Pun Crew White will take 11th ahead of Taco Shop Racing, with Taylor Mills Racing and Taylor Mills herself, unlucky for some, 13th place. Then it's Rifty S Legends in 14th, with Hyperstar Solo Cup 15th. Hayden Gullis will only get a 16th place, with Ruse Racing, who are right up in the top 10 for the majority of the race. They only get 17th. 2 Bandit, 2 Collective, a quiet race in 18th, with Andrew S Superfast Racing Team and Cephalosis team in 19th, and then Ska Racing for Killer Cleo rounding out the top 20, having been in the top 5 all day. Leading the opening hour of the race was the 999 team here for the safety rating. Well, they get 21st position for it, 1 minute and 16 off of victory, with Pole Spin Racing in 22nd. Carl McGuinness was right up there in the final stages. Aiden Pole will get 23rd only, so all the pace and potential just again running into a brick wall. 23rd only, with that guy Vince and Vince Farm Racing, the first car, laps down at 2 laps down. Killer Cleo for the Skura Squad Racing, 4 laps down. The safety car apparently is 4 laps down, so good job, Nick. They're making that happen. Matthew Wright, then a retiree, 12 laps down for Nomad. B-Dunk Motorsports, 2-on-2 Esports Orange, so Matt 2-on-2 with troubles. And then Black Blade Racing Performance in troubles as well. The final 4 teams, Fabio deciding for a retirement there in Fratic. You then had Joshima's leave early, so too Super Noodle Bagel, and Chesnoy Gaming not quite finding what was needed. But we are going to have the opportunity to talk to some of our creators. We just had Kamikaze walk away at just the wrong moment here, John. But I do have Ryan Littlemore here, and I do have, of course, Kamikaze here too. And I think we just got to start here, Kamikaze, with the fact that you just gained 5 places in the last lap of the race, and you are a madman.
I had nothing to say. I'll live up to my name, Kamikaze, so we just send it on the last lap, 2 last laps. So yeah.
Was it the tire overlap? Like, how did you make that work? Because according to me, until the last 4 turns, you had the same grip as everybody, and then you pulled out something out of the bag just to make it just cruise up the inside of everybody.
Yeah, you can call it cruise, but I call it send. So yeah, I don't know. Me and Ryan talked a lot about the race during the race, and we thought we was on a different tire strategy than everyone else. So our second to last pit stop, we decided to split up the pit stop strategy to take half fuel and only rain tires. But yeah, you see at the end that was not the case this time. But we save good points there now. So yeah, I think we are top of the creators as well. So yeah.
You certainly have a fantastic ability of running about and saying, this is what I'm capable of doing, especially when it comes to these conditions. And I'll bring Ryan in as well. How important is it to get an understanding of these wet weather conditions, how difficult this track has been, how tough it is to keep yourself out there and keeping everything on the level, especially when you consider you got the rally experience and know what it's like to deal with less than ideal grip conditions underfoot? up a big third place as the end of racing looked to put itself together. But John, I know how much you love rally cars. I know how critical you think racing is, but we do have to touch upon Crandon in 7 days' time. It is not your typical race circuit for a rallycross car to be on. It is a scramble off the start in 2 massive rows to funnel into the opening corner. And effectively what you've got is you've got race cars running, you know, effectively motocross.
Yeah, so it's a sort of I don't want to call them stadium trucks because it's a championship off-road racing, if I remember correctly. It's a track that's run there, so it's got huge jumps, and the start procedure, as you said, very different to what you normally have in rallycross. But that means more chaos, and I love chaos a little bit, especially on dirt tracks. So the driving style completely different. You got to be so careful about what you're doing. So this will take a lot of learning for even the rallycross experts. I got some hints that maybe Contan del Olmo might be joining us as well. So anybody who's familiar with iRacing World Championship races might know him if you've been following the past few years. So that's a daunting prospect for anybody that wants to compete on that track. But I can't wait to see it because that is one of the concepts that's out there. Rallycross at Crandon. Sounds good to me.
It sounds brilliant to me as well, and the only place you can catch that is with us at the Creator Series and here on iRacing's socials as well as with Creator Series socials as well. From the entire team, from the Michael Massey that is Gareth Allen, from John Isamusing Harris and myself, Jake Sperry, this is a community showcase. This is more than just about the creators here at Sebring. This is about everyone. This is about every community coming together to put some great racing in on the board. We had some wonderful strategy. We didn't know 1,000 different directions who was going to step up and say, that's my victory. It was a case of saying it's not a case of buckets and bolts that have been put together from Timu. Pole Sim Racing will say that their community have taken it with the number 31 team. But here's the important but about this. We are now moving into Kamikaze's territory. We are now starting to walk into where we say this might favour certain drivers in the Creator Series compared to others. When you put the points back on the table, when you say, can you stand up and deliver? The next challenge comes along in 7 days. We will see you very, very soon when we head to Crandon.